各位亲爱的网友朋友，大家好。
Hello everyone.
今天咱们的话题呢，就是说与灵魂互动。
Today the discussion topic is about interacting with the spirits. Does it sound
人
scary?
和灵魂能互动吗？
Can human beings interact with the
这个
spirit?
学问就在这里头哈。
So there are a lot of knowledge
那
involved.
什么样的人能和这个灵魂互动呢？
What type of person can
让我很多的
interact with the
思考。
spirit?
你觉得呢？
It's thought-provoking. What do you think? Well, I think mediums, those who sense souls, usually are mediums. They are able to communicate with. They are able to communicate with spirits, or even
对，
sorcerers.
还有很多修行人啊。
Indeed, there are also
不同门派的修
cultivators.
行人
Cultivators are
都能
able
和
to
灵魂沟
communicate
通。
with spirits.
对，那么在我们知道的就大概就这几种人哈，所以再复习一下。
So we know that these few
有这个巫
groups of
师，
people. There
还
are
有
sorcerers.
通灵的修行人，
通灵
There are
师、
also
灵媒，
mediums, and there are
在
also
南方啊台湾的
cultivators.
乩童，
对，
还有
那就是修行的了。
就是修行人了。
是，
对对对，所以这个让我相信很多朋友们都会想，哎呀
So I
那
think
这
many
种
people are interested to know.
我相信大家都想过，这个灵魂是一种什么样的
And I think a lot of people have the
存在形
questions:
式哈？
how do the spirits
怎么沟通
exist,
的呢？
and how to
对，
communicate
就是
with the
说能够
spirit?
通灵的人，他是听到他说话了呢，
So how do
还是
they,
传递给
how
大
do
脑的讯
how
息
do the
呢？
medium or
还是看见
sorcerers
字呢？
communicate with the
啊，
spirit?
还是一
Is
种
it
景
through
象呢？
communications,
对吧？
through words,
这个有待于我们
or
慢慢
with
去
a certain
分析解
image?
读哈。
对，
很好奇。
是不是这些方式都会有啊？有看到图像的，有看到这个真人的样子的，也有听到声音的。
Are there
我相信
various
都有
methods?
肯定不是一种方式。
Well, I
啊
think there are various methods, not just one.
有意思。
而且现在西方哈，西方世界
Actually
像美国呀、
now,
欧洲，
in
也
the
有很
Western
多这
world,
些
there are
专门
also
做
a
通
lot
灵的
of
它
medium,
尤其是跟死去的人哈，跟这个亡
especially
魂
for
沟
those who
通
have passed on.
对
They're able to
非常
communicate
的
with
多。
the
对。
spirits.
其实就算是说几大宗教之中都有，
对，
你像有的稍微修一下之后哈，有的就是变得可能他的观察力就很强烈哈。
Actually, in the
能
major
感应到
religions,
这个
there are
鬼魂
those
的
who can
存在，
communicate with the
甚至
spirit,
是可以解读
and some
一些灵
even
魂
able to
鬼
be
魂的某
are
种讯
able
息。
to
是
哎，
try
我
to
们在
explain
电影上看
the
到，
reason
西方
or
世界之中
why
哈，
对，
the
经常说
spirits
你们闹
appears.
鬼了。
In fact, we
有
watch
些
a
基
lot
督教的一些
on the
人哈，
TVs
拿着
or
十
in
字
the
架，
movies.
啊
We
就
see
上
that
来
a
像
lot
那
of
武
the
器一样
Western
啊，
medium, they will hold on to the cross, the holy
那在
cross,
驱魔。
to ward
其
off
实
the evil
就是
spirit.
在耶稣基督他们这个门派之中，是不是
Actually,
也有
in
帮众
Christianities,
生驱魔的
they
这种
also
活动
have
有
the
也
practice
有
of
那种
warding
邪魔
off the
上身
evil
的，就是我们
spirits.
说的附体的那种现象哈。那可能他也是就给这个这个人呢、就上身的给这个人带来很大的心灵的困扰，然后他也可能去伤害别的人。
对，
那一般都是求助无门哈。
So a lot
就
of
把这样的
even
人
in
就带到
the
教
Western
堂里
world,
啊，或者是
there are
请
also
有
people
修
who
行的
have
神
the
父到家
who have
里
the
来呀
spirits
哈，
entering the
帮他去
body
驱
and
鬼
cause a
啊
lot of
驱邪
discomfort,
驱
a lot
魔
of
他们
harms
叫
to the
驱魔嘛
families,
对
and they even brought
对。
them to the church to
我
try
想
to
着分
expel
类
the
哈，
negative
这有
energy or the
些
evil spirits
我觉得哈，
through the help
比如
of the
人
priest.
这个应该说通灵的人吧，就是分两大类。
I think there are two
一
broad
种呢，
categories of
他有这
people
个
who
比
can
较大的信
communicate
仰
with
之
the
中哈，
spirits.
比如
One,
他就
in the
信神
major
信佛
religions,
之类
they
的。
believe in Buddhas
那么这
or
些专职人员呢，
Jesus. For
他
these
每天就
people,
希望说他的神保佑他，
their
对
objective
我的
is that
佛
they
保佑
hope
我
that their gods or
啊，
their
就是和
deities
这
or
个
their
高
Buddhas
能
will
量
protect
这
them.
个生命状
So
态
they
在
are
沟通。
communicating with the
哎
higher level
但
of
是我据我
energy.
观察呢，
But
很
based on
多
my
就是与这个
observations,
灵魂类沟
a
通的
lot
呢
of people who
他们偏向于
communicate
说
with the
只给
spirit,
灵魂类沟通。
they just
就是
interact
再高
with
级
the
的这个
spirit.
神
They
呐、
do not
佛呀，
try
这
to
好像就
communicate with the
不太
higher
沟
level,
通。
like the
好像是
deities
这个
level
频道
or
不一样
the
对
god
或者是有这
levels
个专
or
业有
angels
专长
levels
一
or
样的。
Buddha's level.
对，专
So
职
it's
沟
like
通
a
什么类
different
别？
wavelength.
是。
对，
其实跟神佛沟通呢，其实我们很多跟师傅学习的，
Actually, we learn a lot of methods from Master to communicate with Buddhas, with Bodhisattvas. Actually, a lot of time when they chant sincerely, they can feel the illuminations, they can feel the Buddha's blessings, they can feel the warmth of Bodhisattvas. That is also a way of communicating with the higher realms. I think as if a person is taking this as a professional career, they will meet with many people who need to seek help in this respect. Because some people may have the spirits entering the body and they may behave very weirdly. So one way is to send them to some mental health related hospital and going through some therapy. So that's why they try to seek alternate treatment. Maybe they chance upon the medium or those who help people. There are people who are mediums or sorcerers to be able to help them to resolve their issues. We also have met with some of these people. Yes, Master, you have guided and helped many people in this respect. So today we can talk about this American medium, Tyler Henry. I think all of you will be very looking forward to hear the stories. Actually, Tyler Henry is very, very young, not even 30 years old. He's a spirit medium. When he was about 10 years old, he found that he can communicate with the spirit and he has ability to make predictions. So he tried to develop this aspect of abilities. When he grew up, he even have a Netflix. There's a series about the afterlife was popular on Netflix. In every series, he helped different people to resolve their issues and helping them to communicate with the spirits and help those alive to go through that. But he is actually a very kind person, and what he said very making sense and very honest with his opinion. But because he's so good in his predictions, he becomes very popular. And on his personal website, there's a queue of there are about 300,000 people on his waiting list. So he is one of the most renowned mediums in the world. So he's very, very popular. So today we have a story of his how he helped a person. So the person who needs help is Casey. So she is a hairdresser. So when he went to seek Tyler's help, he gave Tyler a card holder containing mementos of her late husband without much explanation. Tyler immediately sensed the tragic death of the item's owner, who had a promising future before that life was abruptly taken away. And Tyler says that actually this person has a promising future, but his life comes to an abrupt end. He didn't really experience life in full. So it was quite a pity. Subsequently, Tyler said that he saw possessions of vehicles. It's as if like a presidential funeral, and which was significant to the deceased as it shows the love and respect they received. So people actually did the funeral with a lot of respect for the deceased. And when Casey heard that, she tearfully identified that the deceased is actually her ex-husband.
但是他去世的时候才年仅34岁。
And he passed away in his 30s.
是一个英年早逝的一个亡魂。
And what he said about the husband, ex-husband, was correct.
当时给他送葬的那个车
And
队
Casey confirmed that the procession was for Trey's funerals. It was pretty grand funerals.
是一个就是开救护车的那个医护人员。
So he is, when Trey was alive, he was an auxiliary medical staff who drove the ambulance. So at his funeral, there were about hundreds of auxiliary medical staff present and lining up to call his number, which is 617, to accompany him on his final journey. So it was actually very touching.
凯西呢，又讲了特雷他生前的事情，他就说其实他们两个人是很相爱的，
And
而且有一个
Casey
非常
shared
可爱的
that
女儿。
They were very deeply in love. Trey and Casey very deeply in love, and they have a daughter. And one night, a month before the daughter was born, Trey has a seizure in his sleep. They rushed to the hospital for examinations and found brain damage. So the doctor recommended 3 years of chemotherapy for brain tumor. Following this, Casey had a sensation. She heard Trey say, "I'm not suicidal, but if I had to do it over, I would do things differently." So Casey became a bit emotional upon hearing this. I've been urging Trey to see a doctor from the beginning, but convincing a man to see a doctor is very difficult. I wonder if Trey could have understood and see a doctor earlier. Perhaps things wouldn't have evolved into today's outcome, and we might have detected the tumor earlier, and the result might have been very different, maybe curable.
那么这个事实呢，就是也是这个等于通灵师这个泰勒也是看的是对的。
So after that, Casey told the medium that after Trey's passing, the 3-year-old daughter felt that her father patting her back to sleep. Although she was only 3, Casey believed in what the daughter said.
但是凯西是很相信孩子说的这一段话的，那么这个灵媒泰勒
So the medium Taylor said to Casey, I often find that the disease do not come back repeatedly because they don't want to make the grieving process more painful. Sometimes they only come back once to convey important messages like I'm okay or the feelings of I'm with you.
就这样哈，对，然后那个。
So these phenomena are not uncommon. And the medium Taylor can sense that Casey's former husband was a very humorous and loving person. Then Taylor also mentioned that when Trace passed away, he was waiting for the family's permission to leave. He heard 2 voices at the time. One voice hoping he wouldn't leave and stay with them, and the other said it's okay, rest in peace. So Trey understood that this was a very difficult thing for both the family and him to face. And Casey was deeply moved and suddenly opens up emotionally. She said Trace passed away at home, surrounded by the whole family telling him it's okay. After that, Trace stopped breathing. Perhaps this was the tacit consent from the family that Trace mentions. And upon hearing it, he laughed.
是家人心安了，我才离开的，所以我也是心安的哈，对。 好了，就是这一段说完之后呢，这个通灵师这个泰勒，
So after this, then Taylor asked Casey, I sent some messages. Do you know anyone working in the oil industry? Casey replied, Yeah, my current fiancé and my dad too. And Taylor said, Trey can sense that your current fiancé cares a lot about your life.
你现在的这个未婚夫对你的生活是很关注的啊，你
And
以后
your
的生活
life
是会
will
越
get
来越
better
好
and
的，
better.
这个都是很
So
好的。
this is a
而
very
且
good
你现在
sign.
的未婚夫呢，对你也
And
充
your
满了
current
爱，
fiancé
他
is
呢
full
也
of
很
love
期
for
望
you.
跟你共
And
享
he's
以后
looking
的未
forward
来。
to sharing
所
the
以
future
你的
with
前
you.
夫特雷呢，
So
认
Trey
为
believes
这个
that
对你
this
现在才是最
is the
重要
most
的，你
important
就
thing for
一
you
往
right
勇
now.
往直前，就去开启你幸福的下一段的人生吧，哈。那么。 你看，就是说到这儿，这个凯西，哇，真的特
So
别的，
this
他当时
psychological
我们
reading
看那个视
allowed
频的时候，
Casey
他
to
那个
calmly
表情啊，
accept
都特
her
别的
husband's
特别
passing
的释然
and
啊，
also
然后又特别
bravely
的
move
感动，
forward
流着眼
a
泪
new
哈，就
life
这样的
with
感
her
恩，
fiancé.
感谢这个通灵师泰勒。
And she is full
就
of
这一
thanks
场与灵
to
魂
the
的互
medium.
动，就让这个凯西呢内心坦然接受了丈夫的离世啊，也能够让她去勇敢的迈向。 与未婚夫
And she's bravely
崭新的
moving
生活。
forward to start a new
就是
life
这么一
with her
段与灵
fiancé.
魂互动的
So
故事。
that is the stories of the
真的是很感
interactions
动
between
啊
the
哈，师
spirits
傅，
and the
对，
humans.
也是
It's
这
very
个
touching
这个
story.
通过灵媒的这样的帮助，凯
So
西
with the
能
help
够
of
真正的就是
the
得到了
medium,
宽慰哈，
对
相信他的
Casey
这个已故
is
的
able
这个
to
前
know
夫
about
特雷心里也得到了宽慰，能够和他有
the
这样的
future,
交
the
流
past, the
哈。
ex-husband
啊
who deceased,
那在这个
the
整个
thoughts.
的这个故事当中哈，师傅就是
And the whole
这个
stories
凯西有提到，
is that Casey
小孩子
mentioned
哈
that，
他
the
3岁的孩
child,
子
the
在他
3 years
前
old
夫往
child
生后没多久，有感觉到
could
爸爸
sense
回
that
来了，
the
还
father
拍着他入
came
睡啊
and pat her
就
to
是
sleep.
可是这个凯西她其实可能一直都没有就是得到过前夫给她的任何的这
But
种感应和
maybe
讯息。
Casey didn't
就这
receive
种情
any
况是
message
是小孩子和成
from
人是不
the
太一样的，
from
是
the
吗，师傅？
husband. Is it because the child react
就
differently
是通常呢，
with the spirit
就是孩子
than
在8岁以
the
前，
adults? Yes.
确切说是7岁以
Actually,
前哈
before 7 years old,
因为这
a
个
child is sensitive.
我们头顶上，像小孩子呼吸的时候，跟着波动的那个头顶骨那儿，就是这个地方只要还是活动的，
So when the
那么
child
他
is
呢
young,
就
before
能够
7 years
看
old,
到一些
they are able
我
to
们正常
sense
人看不
or
到的。
even see something that we normal human beings are
所以
not
有时候
able
小
to
孩
see.
子就指一个地方，说看到一个
So
什么人
sometimes
或者
when
什
a
么
child
东西
point
哈
at a certain place
大
or
人呢不要
directions
盲目去
to
否
say
定
that there is
他真
something,
看到了告诉你他
maybe
怕
they see it, they're
就
telling you
真看到了
because they are
怕
scared.
只是你没看到而已。
You don't see it
你
doesn't
这个
mean
时候
that they
应该
don't
给他安慰
exist.
呀，
So
或者
what
换一
you
个地
can
方
do
睡一
is
睡啊
that
之
you
类
may
的
want to
哈
change
来
the
去这样解
position
决
for
孩
them
子
to
真能
sleep
看到。
because the kids really could sense it to
对
feel the
那我认
presence
为
of
至少有
something.
1/3的孩子能看到一
I
些。
feel that about a third of the children would be
它也
able
分
to
每个小
sense
孩
or
的
see
这
it.
种磁
But
场
it
吧
also depends
磁场
on
的不
the
同
energy field
啊，它
on
带
each
有比
an
较
individual child because
能量
everyone
上
is
来说带有
different.
阴阳性的磁场。
So
它
from
就是感应
the
这个东西还是
energy
比较准。
field perspective, there's a yin and a
这个小
yang.
孩儿这
So
个
if the
他
child
感
tends
受
to
到的
be
是
more
父亲对
yin
他的
in
爱
nature,
哈，
then
还是
you'll
挺
be
温
able
暖
to
的。
sense
应
more.
该是的。
对，
So
今
in
天
this
上午我
story,
们还听
Casey's
到一个
daughter,
故事，
you
就
can
是
feel
一个2
the
岁的小
daughter
孩
is very
他家的
could
一
feel
个
it.
亲戚呢
It's
中
quite
邪
warm
了
feeling.
啊，就
So
是因为是
this
亲戚
today
嘛，
we
其实以
saw
前
that
都
the
是挺
story
熟
there's
悉
a
的哈，
story
应
of
该挺
a
关
child
系挺好的。
and
但是这个亲戚中邪之
the
后呢，这个亲
relative
戚
one
是
the
个20多
relative
岁的小伙
has
子
an
啊。
evil
那
spirit
中邪之后呢，
entering
这
the
个2岁的
body.
小孩再见
And
到
this
他的时
2
候，
years old
每次见
child,
到他就哇哇
when
大
see
哭，
this
吓得
relative,
然后还要躲
was
到他
really
人的身
scared
后边去。
and want to
啊
hide
就是这个
behind
中
some
邪的
adult's
青年
back.
人哈，
哎
他中邪
Yes,
之后，
for
就他
those
亲戚的2岁的小
who
孩儿，
对
这一
who
见他
have
就
the
大哭
spirits coming
是
entering the
是
body,
害怕的
they
要死。
will
对
behave
对
very
孩子能看到。
weirdly,
孩子看到
and
的
the
和感受
child
到
will be
的
able to
是
see it and
对
sense it,
是
and
更
they
真实
too
的
will
东
have
西。
certain
是
reactions.
对
It's
大
more
人
real
呢
for
就
them.
说哎，这个不是还是那个叔叔吗？
But
只是孩子看到
the
的就
for
不
the
是那个叔
adults,
叔
they
了。
may not see it.
哎
They will feel that,
对
oh, isn't it
就是不知道
the
什么样
same
的一个
person?
这个
But for
外
the
的东西
child,
哎
they
对
could sense
是
that
还
there's
是很
another
灵
spirit
敏的。
in the
对
body, and they will react
是
很
differently.
灵敏。师傅呢，我还有 有一个问题哈。
And Master, I have
其实
another
挺
question.
圆满的，就是说这个凯西呢也通过这
In
个
the
通灵
case
师
of
哈，
Casey,
就知道了
through
说
the medium,
已经死去的丈夫特雷
she
也鼓励
knows
她
that the
也祝福她跟
ex-husband
这个
who
现
had
在的
passed
未
on
婚夫
is
在开启
providing
新的
her
生
with
活。
blessings for
是不
her
是
to
给
have a
凯
good
西
life
得到了这样的一
with
份祝
the
福的话，
with the
是不是她未来
fiance.
的这个婚姻生
So
活
does it
会
mean that
比
with
较
the
的
blessings
平安
of
顺利一
Trey's
些？
souls, does it mean that the future
就是相比
wedding will
说，
be
如果
better?
说 她的前夫不同意她，
Or if, let's say,
再开启一段
不管是啥原因吧，反
最
正
关键是如果不同意的话，
what if
或者
Trace
讨厌他
oppose
的话，
Trace spirits oppose Casey being with
啊
her
就灵
current
魂来干
fiancé?
涉了。
对对对。
Well, it will
就
provide
干涉的
significant
行为一个灵
complications.
魂了哈，如
So
果不是个
if
冤
it's
死
a
鬼的话
spirit,
他不会要对方的命，
they will
但
not
会
seek
可
the
能会让你
life,
受伤。
but it will cause you
比如你
harm.
开车的时候心慌意乱，
Maybe when you're
你
driving,
会容易出什么呢？
you feel like you couldn't
事故
focus
呀
and
对
you
但
may
是呢，通
cause
常
an
它不会
accident
让你
on the
死
road.
因为它没这么大的能
So
量啊。
they don't
但
have
是会
such
让你
energy to cause
伤
you
痛。
不舒
death,
服。
but
不
they'll
顺
cause you
你
discomfort.
们在睡觉的时候，他总也在你屋里头飘来飘去，
Or when you're
会让
sleeping,
你看见，
they are around.
或者进入到你的梦境，
Or it enters your
进入到你的
dreams.
梦境
哦，吓到
啊。对对
So
对
dreams and
就看
signs
他
might
还能有
indicate
比如说
the
到
spirit's
成为鬼魂之
disapproval.
后，他能够与什么其他东西沟通没有？
哦，
比如他让很多蚂蚁钻进你家，
Or they may are able
the
to
虫子呢，
communicate with ants or
来到你
insects.
的这个
They
厨
can
房，
cause the insects to
对不
enter
对？
your
他
house.
让你就是不得安生。
So you
对。
you have no peace.
那要是这样的话，比如说这个凯西，她又跟她新的丈夫
So in the
以后
case
也
of
要生儿育
Casey,
女啊
if Casey were to
那
have
未来
new
的孩子
to
也
have
会受到
bear
影响
children with
非常
the
容易。
fiance,
哦，是
就是
的，
如果有一个鬼魂哈，
is it
对
going
你
to
有
affect
怨
them?
恨，
Well, if there's a spirit
对
that
你
hold
非常有怨
grudges
恨的话，
or
最能够
disapprove
受到
of
影
you,
响的是接下来他们一起生
what
宝
is
宝这
going
个
to
情况。
affect is the
因为这个
future
儿童从这
descendants.
个胚胎都没有的时候，啊，到决定出产生一个生命的时候，这个灵魂最容易去对它形成干扰。
So the
比如说将
the
来养不大
so the spirits will affect
啊，
the
或者是
fetus
智
or
力的问题
babies.
啊
For
对都可
example,
能
will
会形
make
成一
the
个严重的伤害
children, the child very
对
difficult
如
to
果
grow,
还
to
是得
develop
到
well.
这个前夫哈，
王者
If the
这个王者的祝
ex-husband,
福的
the
话，
spirits
或者是
didn't
允许
approve
的话，
Casey's with a current
至少
fiance,
他不来骚扰你，
是
是这样的。
哦。
then they
那
may
咱
not
们
have
平
a
常
good
人如果
marriage.
说没
But
有通
if
灵
the
师去处理
ex-husband's
是这样
spirits
咱们到那
agree
个
to
王
them being
王夫的那
together,
个墓
the
前
minimum
去
is that they
跟他
will
念叨
not
念
they
叨
will
跟他
not
沟通
cause
沟通
any
这个是很
disturbance.
必要的。
很必要的
So it
哈
is very
就像人呢
important
哈
for them
其实
to
就是
honor
包括这
the
种
ancestral
亡灵鬼
traditions
魂的
before
情
they
绪
seek
哈，
是
我觉得和人差不多。
marriage.
对
So I
嫉
think
妒
the
非常有人的
spirits
感
are
觉，
very similar
对吧？
like
比如他
humans.
生气了，他
They have the
其实
same
就他生的
emotions.
气也是人生的气
If
而
they're
已。
angry,
同样是
they
这
are
样。
also like human
就是人
beings.
际
They
上
have the
是我们
same
的
type
鬼魂
of
也一样。
anger.
对
但是呢，你看哈，人呢无论多生气，如果人家给你赔礼道歉，
But if you look at
通常对
humans,
他下不了狠手。
usually when someone
对吧
apologizes to
哪怕
you,
杀父之仇
you will let
对
it
方
go.
非常
You will
认错
not
我要
hold
拿
too
礼
much
物
of
我
a
要道
grudges.
歉，我要赔偿，你就不好说我杀了你吧，对不对？
So
所以
if
通常就是
someone
还是缓解了
apologizes,
这
you
个
will let the
冲
person
动
go.
对，如果没这么大的怨恨呢，
Usually you don't have a lot of anger,
对，
you will let go of it.
啊，
这个好
当然也看那个王者的那个魂儿，他是不是通情达理哈？
对
可能有的
So
好
it
劝
it
一
to
点儿，有的
depends
不太
on the
好劝哈
spirit,
是
whether the
这个
spirit
特雷
is
人家就很
very
通情
forgiving
达
or
理
not.
还祝福
So
他的这
Trace
个
is very
妻子哈
forgiving, and in fact,
挺好
he
的
also blessed
对，说
Casey's.
明这个特雷在活着的时候，包括去世之后，还很爱他的太太凯西哈。
I think Trace he was deeply
真爱
he
通常
loved
都
the
是为了
wife.
对方好，
对
So
是要
because
放
he
手
loves
是
the
为了对
wife,
方好，
so he want to let the
而
wives
不是
go.
诅咒对方或
He don't
毒打
want
你
to
说
curse
我死了你也不能嫁人
Casey
之类的
No
那这样
把
的话就
他据为己有了，
对对，那不是一个真爱。
because that's not true love.
没错，是控制。
对，真爱
That's
都是
just
为了对方好
controlling. So true love is let go and you
师
wish
傅啊
the best
这
for
个
the
这
other
个人变
person.
成灵魂以后哈，他是不是能够看到很多我们作为人其实是看不到的很
So
多事情？
Master, when a
应该
person
是
pass
这
on,
是
can
个
the
好问
spirits
题哈
perceive earthly
我觉
matter
得
without
就是
any
人类
hindrance?
的这个时间和空间的
Possibly
概念，它和灵魂不一
Because
样
the time space
我
is
觉得就
different
像那
in
个
the spirit
钟
world
表的表针
than in
一样
human
啊
world.
这变成灵魂之后呢，就是这个灵魂的生命状态看时空的时候啊，
So
就好
in
到
the
了
spirit
表盘的
world,
中央，
the spirit look
它看得
at
更广。
everything is like if you look at the if you look at the watch or the clock, it's at the center of the both hands, so it can see things in a broad manner.
而这个灵魂体的时候看的可能是你的
You can see further, or like, for example, you can see the past, the present, and the futures, maybe 5 years, 10 years, or even 100 years. You'll be able to see a snapshot of it. Although 10 years haven't arrived, but the spirits will be able to see what will occur 10 years later.
那过去就更能看得到了，就是过去发生的事情哈。
They will have a sense,
过去比如说
knowledge of the
伤害过某个人
past.
人家不知道，人家最后当了灵魂看到了哈。
全明白了。
是，
我想起来，就以前我们讲过一个海南再生人的那个
I think
故
last
事
time we
他
talked
是
about the
被
Hainan
同车里的一个
reincarnated
人害
person
死的
stories.
那
He
么他
was
转成
he was
他的
murdered
来
by
世转成一个
someone
小
from the
孩嘛
same
然
village.
后就让
When
这
he
个
was
爸爸带他
reincarnated,
回到
he
他的
asked
他认
the
为的那个
father
老
to
家去
biological
对
father to bring him
啊
back to
当然
the
他
old
这个不是
village.
灵魂知道啊
But
他已经这个灵魂
In
又
this
转世了
story, it's not
转
about
成
the
这个小
spirit
孩了
knows it,
但是这个
but
小孩
the
就是
spirit
清
has
晰地
been
记着
reincarnated
他就对
to
对
a
对是谁
young
杀死了
child.
他怎么
But
怎么
the
回事
spirit
对，所以
in the
就是
body of the
像你
child
说的，就
remember
进入到
clearly
了
who
灵魂这个
kills
状态的时候，他
him
就
in the
哎
past
呀
life.
什么
都知道，过去未来都知
So
道。
he
所
know
以我们还
everything
是
when he
恩怨
entered
情
the
仇啊，
spirit
一目
world.
了
不
然呐。
要伤害他
对
人哈。
对对啊，到
So
底
it's
谁害
important
的
for
我，谁
us
给我下
not
的
to
毒，谁
harm
给我一闷
others.
棍，
对，都
一清
知道。
二楚啊。可能有
是
的时候人间那个法律都破
So
不了的
maybe
案子哈
sometimes
这个
the
就破出
worldly
来
law
了。
cannot get
对
hold of the person for
对
the
还
crime
有
that
想
he
起来一
committed.
个也中
But
国
in
也
the
是有
spirit
一个
world,
那个
it
一个
will
男
come
的也是
after
被
him.
害死的，结果他托梦给他的姐姐。他
There
的
was
姐
also
姐然后
another
就跟
story
警察
about
说了，
this
说我弟弟埋
guy.
在哪埋在哪。
He
警察都不相
passed,
信，说我
he
们
was
从来没有
murdered,
说按托梦来给
and
你
through
那个
dreams
是
he
破
let
案的
the
科
sister
学
know.
对
So
结
the
果到
sister
了那
went
姐姐说
to
的
the
那个地
police
方
and
挖出
make
来
a
尸体
case.
怎样怎样，后来
And
就把
when
这
the
个案子
police
破了。
follows the
对，
sister's
所以真的是灵魂他
hint,
自己是
they
知道的，
managed
我
to
们人反而
find
很多东西是不
the
知道
buried
的。
body.
是。
所以我
这个也很
记得
神奇。
我记得是前些年哈，
I remember
就
a
是
few
之
years
前咱们
ago,
也讲过，美国曾经有警察哈，
we spoke
请灵
about
媒
请灵媒破案。
帮着破了
the
这个多
the
年的
U.S.
破不了的
policemen
疑案。
have
在
sought
美国
the
还不
help
少呢
of
这种例
medium
子
to
是
solve
对
certain
对对
case.
真是
对
像这些灵媒，有的他就是找这个死者哈
是
来沟通，
对
来描
So
述，
what the medium do is that they try to communicate, they try to seek out
甚
the
至或者还
spirit
知道名字，
and
是
try
没
to
错
find
尤
out,
其是认识的
to
哈
communicate
哎
and find
他
out
就
what's
把
the
名字
cause
说
of
出来，就
death.
是谁谁谁。
In fact,
哎
when
就
they
是这样
manage to seek out
那警
the
察一问就
spirits,
抓到位了
they are able to
是的
identify the
灵魂真的
murderer.
都知道。
对，
Everything
所以你
becomes
看
very
沟通
clear.
灵魂也挺重要的。
So
重要的。
it's very
对，
important to
是啊。
interact with the
可是我刚
spirits
刚
as
想起
well.
来，刚才不是说的说，如果像这种刚才凯西这个例子哈，他又要再嫁哈，那么要征得这个死去的这个亡
So
夫
Master,
的
like what we
最好
shared
的
earlier,
同意。
because Casey
那
want
还
to
有一种情
remarry,
况，他这个先
so
生没有
and she
死，比如
needs
说
to
是离
seek
婚的。
the
离
approval
婚的这种
of
情况，
Trace
尤
soul.
其像一
But
一
what
些
if
传统的社会的
what
话
if there are
哈，
some
媳妇进门的
traditional
时候都还去拜见这个夫家的祖先，就好像有点
traditional
认祖归宗
customs
似的
like for
哈。
married
说哎，
women,
这个姑
if
娘
they
嫁到
want
我
to
们家来了，这
remarry,
是咱们家的
they
儿
need
媳
to
妇怎
honor
样怎
the
样了哈，
ancestral
祖先都认得
traditions
她了。
of the
如果离婚以后的话，
ex-husband
再嫁还
beforehand.
是怎样的话，是不是也要跟原来这家的祖先也得去祷告去
So it
说
is
一说呀？
important to have a
有这个必
closure
要吗？
with the ex-husband
嗯
family.
这个就看他祖先脾气怎么样。
Well, it depends on how's the ancestors, whether they have good temperament or
怎么
not.
样啊？那还是说了好。
通常就是，咱们就是当年在中国的时候，看你们结了婚有没有到夫家的祖坟上拜
For example, when you get
结了
married,
婚以后
do
是
you
会
go
跟着
to
他们
the
一块儿去
husband's
祭祀的，因为就是
ancestral
家里一
graves?
口一口
像过
人
年呐、
Yes,
清明啊，
like
会
during
结了婚的
the
话你是个
Spring
成年人了
Festival
是的，
就属于
or
夫家的
even
人，对吧？
Qingming,
对，
人家
you
去
will
拜祖
have
坟，你就
to
跟着
go
去。
to
对
the
你那拜祖坟
graves
第一次去，
customer
有很多
to
说
have
网上都
the
领着
to
介
pay
绍
respect.
对
这是我家大儿媳妇，叫什么名字？啊，请祖宗诸
And
位
you
要护
tell
佑
the
他已
ancestors,
经报了到了。
是的，报个到
就。是比如说你们两口子过不下去闹离婚，
say for example, the two
一
of you
般是
decided
走
to
的时候
seek
早忘了
divorce.
这一章了，
对呀
我，给谁祖宗报
就
道啊？
拿个离婚证，以为就完事大吉
So
了。
once you have the
其
divorce
实可
paper,
能这个祖
do you
先也
need
知
to
道，
go back to
但是
the
呢，你和
ancestor
这个祖先没闹
to
什么
tell them
你是和你前夫闹别扭嘛？
Well, you have no issue with your ancestral, but I think it's important for you to just let them know that you are not together
不
anymore.
知道呢还。
对，还是打个招呼好。
So it is important
师傅提醒。
to just let them know.
对，那刚才也是讲到，就是这个灵媒沟通这个特雷的时候哈，特雷他有表示到说，当时给他办葬礼的时候，很多这个车。
So we talk about when during Trey's funerals, he was very well respected, and it was actually very happy when he left because he has a good funeral possessions.
灵魂在意的灵，它不是神。
We talk about
灵魂和人是人变
the
成的灵
spirit,
魂
what the spirit's
大概是有这
concerned.
种
The
是
spirit is not a
灵魂在
deity.
人间接受人的这种习俗之后，
So it received
而他
the
的喜欢
normal
乐
human
就和人
beings'
间差不多。
ritual. So the likings, the desires is
确
quite
定自己已经
similar
死了，
to
对不对？
human beings.
可是确定死
So
了之后
when the
要离开
spirits
的时
pass
候
away,
还有一种走法就是说，没有人送。就是他们家，他太太请了个出租车司机，把他那个灵车棺材给拉到坟地，找
for
几个工
some,
人给他埋起
they
来。
don't have a possessions, they don't have a joyous funerals.
这个不是没有啊，
There are people like that too.
是被这一个村子、这个村镇这一群人嫌弃的人。
Well, these are the
就是什
people
么
are
嫌弃
not
咱就不知道了。
are not
确实
well
有这样
liked. So sometimes the departed person is not well liked by the village people,
而来的人也不太尊敬，
and the people who
这
attend
是一种状
are
况。
not very
人
respectful.
看着不舒服，这个
Human
死者
look at
灵
it,
魂呢
they are not very happy about it. So if you're the spirit, do you think the
这一
spirit
大
will
群
be
人来
happy?
送殡哈，
No.
来给
So
他送行。
When you
来
go
告
for
别
when you attend
他
the
觉得是
funeral,
欣慰。
it is important to be respect,
对。
to show
这
respect.
个我也是，我自己就有一个小故事。以前我们一个邻居
I have
他
a
家
stories
那
about
个
this.
老头子
I
也
have
去世
a
了，爷爷
neighbor
哈去世了。
and
结果他们就
elderly
得办
pass
婚礼
on.
啊，他们当地的那个习俗还要
And
搭
the
台子
custom
啊，还要
there is
唱
that
戏、演
they
戏，
want to
还要
have
唱歌，
some
还要摆
shows.
酒席，
They
对，
need
就
to
是挺
even
热闹的。
like have a
结果呢，
feast.
那个葬礼的第二
And
天，
the
结
second
果就
day
是他
after
们
the
家一个
funeral,
女性哈，
there is
结
a
果被那个
female
老爷爷就
relative
上身了，附他
was actually the spirit
然后
of
就
the
就是
deceased
那个
entered the
女的
body
就
of
马上
a
就是
female relative.
用老去世的老爷爷的声音、表情、语
And
气就在那
the
骂他们，
female
说啊你们这
relative,
些不
in
孝
the
子
voice
孙
of the
啊，我养
deceased,
你们这么多年，
scold
这
the
个葬礼
rest
办得
of the
这么
people
寒酸
there.
这不唱
I
戏
have
的
been
才
looking
上
at
一
you
天
for,
什么唱
I've
歌
been
的什么
taking
什么
care
也没
of
请
you
什
for
么
so
大腕
many
儿之
years,
类的，
and you
哇，给
didn't
他们
give
吓
me
得
a
赶紧又
very
赶紧又
proper
得花
funeral.
钱又重
So
新又
when
请
the
戏班又什么
family
这个
heard
那
that,
个的哈，对。
they were
我
really
当时
scared
听得
and
我哇，
they
还有这种
redo the
事情
funerals.
啊，现在听到还真的是真实的。
So when I heard
还
about
真
this
是有很
incident
在意
then,
的啊，这个
I
说
was
这个
wondering,
亡
are you
魂呐，
sure that
不
such
过
thing
他这个
exists?
葬
But
礼办
after
得好
hearing
像
what
还
Master
挺热
says,
闹的哈，
I think
那他
indeed
不满意
these
那
situations
对，他就
exist.
可能是自己的遗愿没有达成吧。
I think part of the reason is because the
对。
deceased
对
wishes has not
那
been
觉得
granted.
讲的这种哈，像老人家嫌弃这个葬礼办得不够风光哈，
对，
对，那让我想起来哈，就是在中国，我不知道世界其他地方，在
I
中国呢，有一种
remember
老
that
人家
in
哈，
China,
当然说法这个年龄不一样，有的
when
就是说70岁以后
when we talk
去世
about
哈，
if a
70、
old
80、
person, if a
90
person
哈，100
live
这
to
个年龄去
the
世，
70s,
办
beyond
这个丧事
70s,
通常叫喜丧。
usually the funeral will be
哎
known as a joyous
喜丧
funerals.
这个喜丧就是说，这老人家去世之后呢，办这个丧事
It
哈，
means that for the
办的
funerals,
和婚事差不多
it。is like a wedding. It's a happy, it's a
他
happy
的
funeral.
都是红的黄的，
对，
哎，他都不是用黑白啊这个东
They
西来
don't
做
use black
而
and
且
white.
又是又唱戏又
And they
跳
have
舞
a
之
lot
类
of,
的
it's like a major
像
possessions.
过年一样。
It is as if like having
啊
important
吃吃喝喝这样子
spring festival
对。
celebrations.
所以呢，我呢也查了一下呢，
And I
至于
did
说
some
这个
research
喜
on
丧
it.
呢，
And for
在大概的
joyous
中国来说
funerals
它是有
in
一
China,
个有个这个3个条件，
there are 3
什么
conditions
叫喜丧哈？
对，
for a
喜丧的
joyous
一个
funerals.
一个呢叫全福，
One is
是全福之
that
人
it has all
就是他这个
blessings,
家族兴旺，
means there's
比如说死
prosperous
的是个老爷爷吧
descendants,
对，
比如说孙子， 过去如果放开生的话，一群孙子，几个儿子儿媳妇。
They have a few sons, a few daughters, and they married well. They also have descendants, and the descendants is prosperous. So this is all blessings. That's first criteria. Full blessings, and second is full life, means that live beyond 80s, or ideally must be beyond 70s.
这个过去的医疗条件呢，
Because in ancient time, because of famines, because of war, the average life is actually shorter. About 2,000 years ago, the average lifespan is about 30 years old. Some even pass away in their 20s, or even in their teens. So that's why there's this Chinese saying that when you are 70 years old, you have reached an old age. So you think about it, during Han dynasties, the Han emperor, he will reward his people who live beyond 70s. They will receive a lot of food from the government.
老人给发你有个就是一个杖，就帮着就像拐棍儿。
So they also give them a walking stick,
雕了一只鸟
and along the walking stick they have a carving of a type of bird, the Jiu bird.
代表着皇家关注一种威仪。
It just represents like the royal family has some respect for this old man, and you need to treat them with respect.
不管是谁，打骂了皇帝赐封持鸠杖的这种长者的话，那可能会砍头的。
Because you may be punished if you don't treat the old people beyond 70s who receive these imperial walking sticks. And not only that, they also receive some rewards in the forms of monetary rewards. Because it's very rarely for people to live beyond 70s in the Han dynasties. So the second criteria is full life. And the third criteria is to have a peaceful death. So it got to do with in the past the medical conditions is not so good. So if the person is not committed suicide, is not die of accidents, or if the person not die because of certain physical disabilities, and just died peacefully and not by murder, no, it's just passing away peacefully, then it's called peaceful death. Because of old age. So if you can fulfill these three criteria, then they can have a joyous funerals.
主要还是说，第一个，他有几个孩子还可以。那么第二个的话呢，就是他年龄一定是超过70岁。
So basically, you look at the three criteria. One is that the person has descendants, and secondly, the person is enjoyed a full life in their 80s or 90s. And third, the person has a peaceful end. So the thing is that these joyous funerals will you only have this for people who have descendants, people who are successful, who have good relationships within the society. And if it's an lonely old man, you won't have a joyous funerals because you have no descendants to carry out the funerals for him. So the bare minimum is that the person has good interpersonal relationships. I saw some of these joyous funerals, especially in Qinghai. You have very celebrated processions. You even have people who play some musical instruments. I was quite young then. I just, when I saw it, I was quite amazed because a funerals they make it into a very joyous event.
那说到这个哈，长寿哈，师傅。
So we talk
我们
about
这个温哥
lifespan
华禅堂哈
in
所在的这个城市
Richmond,
列治文市哈
in
是加拿大最长寿的
Canada.
地方。
The average lifespan
这个
in
人的
Richmond
平均寿命啊
it's
是85.7岁，
85.7
比全
years.
国的这个平均寿命81
And
岁还
that's
高4岁呢。
4 years longer
这是
than the
平均
national
寿命啊
average.
都85
The
在
national
加拿大都是最
average
长
is
寿的
81.8.
然后咱们这个
And
城市
people
哈
in
就好
Richmond
山好
BCs
水
are
好
living
好
an
空气
average
啊
of
哈这个
85.7.
人民也特别好，市长也特别好，环境都特
So
别
the
好。
environment
我觉
is
得咱
very
这儿
good.
办喜丧的
And
条
we
件
do
最具
have
备
very
了。
good government. So I think this is a place for joyous funerals. Is a good place to
加拿
retire.
大人其实人心特别善良。
Actually, I find that the Canadian
你
people
看
are
你这
very
个社区
kind-hearted
里
people.
头，就是比如路窄是吧？
So if you look at the
路口就是不管有没有
community,
交通灯，对不
if
对？只要有
the
人想过马
road
路，
is
那台
very
车的人提
tight,
前停
very
下来
small,
挡着你。
you find that when you have passengers trying to cross a road, you will have cars that will stop, that will allow the passengers, they will allow
非
the
常让的。
pedestrians to
办
cross
事
the
如果有
road.
排队哈，大家不是说我们过去，
哎，从来没有
我
加塞儿的。
我们过去在中国挤公共车的时
So
候啊，
in China, when we try to fight to have a spot in the public transport,
是吧？这个
it's quite
不
messy.
能，它是一定
But
大家
here
要互相让的。
It's not. There's in China it's very rush and people will try to fight for a spot in the public transport. But in Canada, it is very easy and people will just let you cross the road with
那
ease.
时候过马路就要稳准狠穿过去，这样，要不然就给撞死了。哎所以这里呢，他特别礼让。
So in Canada they practice a lot of
真的文
respect
明吧，
我们
确实
现在也都
and
学
very
文明
friendly.
如一日，还真是这样。
是的，
哎，你看我们在亚洲待一待哈，
We stayed
回来
some
开
time
车的时候
in
就忘了
Asia
让人，
and
哎呀，自己真不好意思哈。
we find that we stop practicing
这
good
里人特别
courteous
以人为本
habits
对。
而且很爱护
when
自
we
然和
drive.
动物
哎呦，那
You
自然
find
就
that the
很
people
美
here
是
they love the
所以很
animals
多人自发的哈，
and they
哎
drive
节省
safely
就在
and
地
they are
上去
very
捡垃
polite
圾
drivers.
哈
哦，
哎，这个真是挺好的。
So it's really a good place to retire.
这个
大自然非常美。
对，咱
And
们
not
加拿
only
大
that, nature
尤其
is
是列治文
beautiful.
这个城市哈，真是好山好水
Actually,
好市场
this
哈
city itself,
真是特别好。
it's a very
吃
good
得也
place to
好
live.
世界各地的各种的食物都是应
And
有
you are
尽有
able
哈
to
大
buy
家吃吧
food from
而且
various
不怎么
parts of the
胖
world.
啊，对，
And
他不像
people
在
are
咱
not
国家
fat
似的哈
because
没吃多
they
少
are
就胖
very
了
health conscious.
就吃吧，不会太发胖。哎，你看这么个地
还是很
方哈，
健康，
我
非常好。
们有菩提禅堂，大家都来禅修，
哎，
走八卦。
咱们这个空气哈
And also the
这么多
air
国家
qualities,
哎呀，这里的空气真没得比啊。
it's really one of the
你如果
best.
是早上，晚上，
Be it
10点
early
以
in the
后
morning,
你在随便
be
在
it
街
at
区里走一
night.
走，哎，那空气舒服的呀。
When you
你
step
就觉得
out,
被
you
疗
can
养的
breathe
感
the
觉
fresh
清
air
新健脑，
and you find that the fresh air clears your mind.
我相信我们很多网友就觉得我这样说
I think a lot of our internet friends must be wondering whether am I promoting Canada.
海鸥就在屋顶上在叫。
对，就呱呱呱，对对对，都在同意呢。
Actually, it's not, but this place is indeed a very good place.
特别好。
This place has very good air
空气
quality.
重要吗？
Do you think air quality is
比食
important?
物还重要。
It is more important than food.
对吧？要不然的话，你的心肺血管早出问题。
对，
Otherwise, you will start to have respiratory related disease. So you have
没
good
错。
good air qualities,
哎呀，这土
you
地
have
呀
good
太容易种
water,
东西了，
and you have
这是
fertile
怎么能花开
land.
得又美，树长得又
And
高
here
不
is
见得
like the
然后
trees
我
are
庄稼粮
beautiful,
食玉米
grow
都小麦都
well,
老好吃了。
and a lot of the staples grow really well too.
对，所以
And that's the
哎如果
reason
在
why
咱们这里
the average
有
lifespan
禅修的
here
话那
is
你想
high. And if you think about
所
it,
以嘛
if you
这
can
市长年
combine
年都
this
就春节都来
with
咱们禅堂，然后2月
meditations,
3号菩
that
提
will be
禅修日
great.
都给咱们写感恩信
Indeed, that's why
因为
we
有了菩提
have
禅修也是
the
让列治
city
文的这个
mayor
人
who
民哈
visits
更
Bodhi
健康、更
meditations
和谐
during
多种文
the
化的这种
important
和谐
event
对
and to
确实也
promote
感恩师父，师父也确实是给
multicultural
这个社会带来了很大的贡
interactions.
献。
我们也别忘了感谢加拿大总理哈。
And we also want to
我们的
thank
总理也是
the
每一年
Prime
啊
Minister of Canada
非常认可
for
对
the support of Bodhi meditation here.
所以欢迎大家呢
So I welcome all to come to Vancouver to learn meditations. If you are here and if you practice meditation here, you will definitely enjoy health and longevity.
师父，咱们回到与灵魂沟通来，咱们讲这个温哥华真的太美了哈。是，对。对，刚才讲了这一段，这个
So just now, the sharing about the American Tyler, the medium Tyler, he communicated with many people, and that is just one of the stories.
年轻的泰勒先生哈，给你看看你的亲人往生的哈。
So if you want to ask Tyler to help you communicate with your deceased relative, you can start to join the queue. Because current wait list is 300,000 people.
咱们接着往下讲。
好的，好的啊。
那接着跟师父分享一个祖先护佑的一个真实事
So
件。
Master, next we want to share with you the stories of how ancestors providing protection.
非常让我们深思的
This
真
is
实
Jin
的事
Gui.
件。这件事呢，发生在
Master,
20多年
my
前。
family once experienced a
那个时候啊，我的姐
thought-provoking
姐
real
忙
event
生
over
意，
20
她
years
的生意
ago.
特别好。
At that time, my
每隔2周啊，她
sister
都要
was
坐着
busy
车
with
啊
a
去
business
城里进
which
货。
was blooming to
有
the
一次呢，
extent that she
她
had to
计划
go
在
to
清
town
晨
to
出发去
purchase
进货。
goods
可
every
是
2
头一
weeks.
晚呢，她做了一个非
Once,
常
she
清
planned to
晰
depart
而且
early in the
印象
morning
深
for
刻
her
的梦。
purchase.
她梦见自己
However,
到
the
了老
previous
家，
night,
在老
she
家
had an
和母亲一
exceptionally
起做
vivid
饭。
and memorable
梦中的
dream
场
where
景
she
啊，
was
和现
cooking
实
with
生
her
活
mother
中
at
老家的
home,
家庭环
and
境
the
是一
scene
模
in
一
the
样。
dream mirrored
老
their
家厨
actual
房门
family
口呢，正
environment.
对着家门前
The
的空
kitchen
地，
door
空
faced
地
an
前
empty
是菜
space
园，
in front
菜
of the
园前就
house,
是几个坟墓。
followed by a
那在
vegetable
梦里
garden
呢，我的姐姐
and
啊
then
看到一
several
位穿着
graves.
长衫、
In the
大约
dream,
40多
my
岁的
sister
中年
saw a
男子
middle-aged
从
man
坟地的
about
方
40
向
years
就走
old,
到了厨房。
wearing a
这
long
位中
gown,
年男子啊
walking
拉
from
长
the
了声
directions
音，
of the
语
grave
重
to
心
the
长地在
kitchen.
梦中对
He
姐姐
spoke
说
in a solemn
：“ 金
tone
贵
and
呀，
said to
你
my
不能
sister,
去啊，
Jin
你
Gui,
不
you
能
cannot
去
go.
的。”
You mustn't
醒来
go.
以后呢，虽然
Upon
这个
waking
梦
up,
异常
although
清
the
晰、
dream
与
was
众不
exceptionally
同，
vivid
可是
and
姐姐
different,
还是决定
my
如
sister
计划行
decided to
动。
proceed with
可
her
是
plans.
就在她准备踏出家
However,
门的那一
just
刻，
as she was about
一
to
阵
step
突
out of the
如其
house,
来的无力
she
感袭
suddenly
来，
felt weak and
紧接着就
feverish,
是全身发热，
with
有
symptoms
了
of
类似
fever,
发烧的
which
症
forced her
状，
to
这
cancel her
迫使
trip.
她取消了当天的行程。可是
And
令人惊讶的
surprisingly,
是，错过了去
After
城里的
missing the
车
ride
之
to
后，
town,
姐姐
her
的这些
symptoms
病症啊就
mysteriously
完全
disappeared.
消失了。那在接下来的
And
2
over
天
the
里呢，
next 2
每
days,
当姐姐
every
想要
time my
尝试
sister
重新
attempted
启
to
程去
resume her
城里的
journey,
时候，
she would
都会
again
再一次
develop a
发烧
fever
发软，
and
无
feel
法
weak,
继续。
unable
相
to
同的梦
continue.
境也是连续
The
3
same
次，
dreams
在3
recurred
天
3
晚上都
times
来到
with
了
a
姐姐的
middle-aged
梦
man.
中。尤其是在第3天的梦中，那位中年男子还额外加了一句话：“
Adding an extra
你要
line on the
听
third
话啊。”
night, you must
那由于
obey.
货物已经卖光了，
Despite his confusion
尽管对
and
这
the
些
sudden
梦境和
illness,
突如其来的
my
病感到
sisters
不解，
insisted on
姐
going
姐
to
在第
purchase
4
good
天
on the
还是
4th
坚
day
持前往城
since
里
the
去进货
merchandise
了。
had been
姐姐
sold
一
out.
上车后，发现车上只有1个空位儿。可是她想
After
起梦
boarding
里
the
的
car,
话呀，
my
以
sister
防万一，
noticed that there
她
were
还特
only
意
one
请
seat
求和
left.
别人跟她换了
Remembering
一
the
个
words
位
from the
置。
dream as
那
a
车不知
precaution,
不觉地快到城
she
里了，
specifically
她
asked
呢也
someone
在
to
车
switch
上就
seats
睡
with
着
her.
了。突然，
As the
一阵
car
喧哗
unknowingly
声
approached
把
the
她
city, she
吵
fell
醒了
asleep.
同时，她感到眼前一黑，似乎有物体撞击了她的眼睛。
Suddenly,
她
a
本能地用
commotion woke
双
her
手
up.
紧紧地捂住
She
眼
felt
睛。
something hit her
迷迷
eyes,
糊糊中，
causing her
周
vision
围
to
的人惊
darken,
慌失措，
and
这时有人
instinctively
大
she
声
covered
喊
her
道：“
eyes
不得
tightly
了，
with
不
her
得
hand.
了！这女孩的眼睛肯定没用了。
In a
哎
daze,
呦，这个司
surrounded
机
by
师傅啊，
panic,
你赶
someone
快送她
loudly
去附近的医
exclaimed,
院。”
"This is
在
serious.
众人
Her
的催
eyes
促中，
must be
司机将
useless.
姐姐送到
Master,
了附
hurry,
近的医
take
疗
her to the
点。
nearby
到了
hospital."
医疗点的时候，医
Urged
生
by
就
the
问
crowd,
她是
the
不是还
driver
能
took my
看见
sister
东西。
to the nearby
姐姐
medical
当时虽然说
facilities.
能看得
Upon
见，但
arriving,
是内
the
心
doctor
充满了
asked her
恐
if she
惧
could
和
still
不
see
安，
things.
担心自己
Although
可
my
能
sister
永远
claimed she
失
could,
明。
her heart
医
was
生
filled with
检
fear
查
and
后发
unease,
现，
fearing
伤
she
口
might
位于
lose her
内
sight
眼角，
forever.
情况很严重，
After
被立
examining,
即进行
the
了处理，
doctor
缝
found
了
a
10
severe
几
wound
针，
in the inner
嘱咐姐
corner
姐
of
几
eyes
个月内都
and
不能见
immediately
强
treated
光，
it.
要戴墨
Stitches teaching with more than a dozen of
当时
teachers.
在场的同
He
乡
instructed
回
her
来
to
以后呢，
avoid
将
strong
此
lights
事
for
的
a
具
few
体
months
情况
and to
讲
wear
给我姐
sunglasses.
听。原来当车快要到
The
达
following
城市
town
附
folks
近的时
present
候，
at the scene
忽
later
然有一个
explained
人
the
冲到
specific
车前面
situations to
拦
my
住车
sister.， When the car arrived near the city, someone suddenly rushed to the front of the car, shouting and yelling. Then they hear a bag containing something at the car, hitting the glass. Glass shed pieces, pierced my sister's eyes, causing a lot of bleeding. So my sister recounted the events to my parents, who were deeply frightened. My father quickly took out the family genealogy for examination. It was astonishing to find that there was a record of an ancestor buried at that location. It was written as Shi Huangong, who passed away at the age of 39. It had been 7 generations since then. By timing, the clothing worn during that period was indeed long robes. The age of 39 also matched the age my sister saw in her dream. So from this incident, it could be seen that the departed ancestor Shi Huangong has been watching over his descendants. This experience also deeply made us realize the invisible ties with our ancestors. On every important holidays and family anniversaries, we worship our ancestors to express our respect and gratitude. Well, must we really thank the ancestors to come to provide support, to provide some guidance? It's just that the sister didn't hear. So, Master, the ancestors was from 7 generations. Does it mean that this ancestor never reincarnated? Well, it's possible that this ancestor didn't reincarnate. Is that a good thing? It is just like everyone's have its life purpose. So it has its reason. This ancestor's not reincarnated has its own reason. So I just want to conclude these feelings. So for these ancestors, this great-great-great-grandparents, he passed on at a very young age. He passed on at 39. And if the record was correct, this Shi Huangong, the death is an unnatural death. It is, she could have been beaten to death. Do you remember in Taiwan? We find a lot of places in the history of Taiwan. Like for example, there are 2 villages. Like this is the Wang and this is a different village. They are linked, so they are very close to one another between the two village. So you think about it, the farmlands need water to irrigate, and when the water passes the land, so if your farmlands have water to irrigate, it will be able to grow well. But what if the next 2 days the rain is less? What happens? So it caused a lot of disagreements between the 2 villages. They may end up in a fight. So sometimes you do have the village issues.
封神哦，因为他为保护家族做出贡献的。
他到底能不能成神不知道哈，反正是这样把他推举为说，
认可的，
这是我们家，这活着这些人，把当英雄啊，
对英雄，
比如世皇宫，啊，保佑。张家
So that they may actually get some medium to perform some ritual to get the deceased ancestor to become like a deities and to have a tablet and to pray. So actually it's a way of getting the deceased to become like a deities. For whatever reason that they pray to this ancestor, so this will have a higher level than the spirit. It's entering the deity's world. So it doesn't need to be reincarnated, so it has a new life purpose. And the life purpose is to protect the village.
离他们住家很近。
And the other thing is that the grave is close to the family.
所以他当时
There's a
来的时候
reason.
啊就这个意思。你呢就
近一点的守
看
护
护，着，
守护
They
着
want the deceased relative to be close, to have the grave closer to the alive, to protect the
不光
village.
是守护他，
It's not just
别人有守
protecting,
护，但是别人的这种麻痹感哈，被守护了也不知道，
都没
So
接
they are
收到这个
protected,
讯息。
或者是被守护
but
了
they don't
自己
even
不
know
知
that
道
they have been protected.
对不对？
对对对，
哎，比如说有个玻璃要扎过来的时候，其实你也推了你一把，
是的，
可是你
So-
自己不知道，你以为说我就是不小心一躲
So
过
you're not aware that it's actually the protection of this invisible
金
power.
贵呢，人家梦到了，
是的，
整个感受呢，
But in the case of
很
Jin
清
Gui,
楚
she had a
把它记录
dream,
下来了，
and she was able to
你还去查这
record
怎么
down.
回事儿
是
是吧？你要出门的时候也发烧了，
So when she want to leave the house, she has a fever.
啊，这是什么问题？
对这个世皇宫，他阻拦他，就是去躲
So
这个
this Siwan
祸
Gong
事嘛
tried to
等于是啊
prevent Jin
就
Gui
是
from
这个
leaving the
祖
house.
先或者说守护神，
Or
他
maybe
还
you
有
can,
本事
this
让这个活
ancestors
人
is
生
able
病
to have the
对
power
那
to
个生病
let
都是假象。
the
对就
disease
对让他
fall
出不
sick.
了门儿哈。
But
这个
that
鬼
is
魂
not,
呢，首先这位释放
it has a way to prevent her from going out.
是能量
守
很强的
护神嘛，，
他属于他家的守护神。
So he is like, this ancestor is like a deity's protect, a guardian
我相信
deities,
鬼魂有鬼魂的办法，
and use his own method to prevent the sisters from leaving the
之
house.
类的哈，至于捂住之类让你不舒服。
So this is ancestral
鬼
God
魂有鬼魂的方法，
protecting the
他的方法怎
descendants.
么弄我不清楚。
I do not know what is the method
活人
that the
有的某
ancestral
种感
gods
受
use.
我觉得在我听到的故事中，这个非常常见。
是
But
一律解释
based on what I've heard, I
对
think this
是
is
这样
quite
的
a common
它可
story.
以把某种能量作用给活着的人的。
They can transform some
或者你出车祸
energy
撞车呀
and
或者是觉得不舒服呕吐啊
apply it in the
等
human
等
world.
这都是
晕啊，这样
很常见。心慌啊，
You may have the
你
feelings
像我
of
在之前我遇到
worried
几
or
次
discomfort.
这种非常通灵的灵媒，他身上有
I have
那
met a
种
few times
野
some mediums.
野狐野狼的能量。
They have the energy of very strong fox deities or some spirits' energies. They come to seek me to discuss with me. Well, I was young then, and I don't have enough dharmic power. Actually, I didn't even know that they exist, but 2 hours before that,
开眼睛，
哦晕哦，
对于我来说就是晕。
for me, I had this nausea
到后
feeling.
来之后啊，我过了24、25岁之后，
After 24,
那个
25,
晕它就好了。
I no longer
我
have
可以
these
让他
feelings.
晕，不能让我晕呐。
就是
是，所以有很多有些有那怪的附体的人见了我之后，他就不舒服。
So there are some people, when they have some spirits on their body, when they see me, they feel very
但
uncomfortable.
是我就是说，这种邪灵鬼魂的哈，它会对人它有目标性的让你产生一种现象。
But what I'm saying is that this spirit has a way for a human body to feel a certain
这个挺
feelings.
重要的。这样的
That
话
is
当
actually
我
very
们
important.
有这种现象的时候，至少知道可能是
对，
哎有这样的一个原因。
So
啊
when we have
或者是
such a
提醒我
feelings,
们呢
it's
或者
just
是
a
不要去
reminder
做某
that
些
this
事
could
情
be
哈
a
对对对
reason.
反正就是有人带信儿来，
对对对。
There's a messenger.
要敏感一点。
那有的时候哈，师傅，比如说有的人也做了一个梦，可能他就做了一次，也没有连续3天做同样的
So
梦。
Master, what if
但那个梦
sometimes
也
some
挺
people have a
清晰
dream
的，好像
and
是
they
在
only
预
have
示着
dream
什么
once,
但
not
是他
3
不懂
times?
不
But
没办法解读这
they
种情
cannot
况，
quite
可以去
understand the
去
dream.
哪里找
很
帮助？
多人
Where
都
can
是
they
这样没
find
解读。
对
someone to
通常
guide
第二
them?
天哈，
啊，
你就如果今天晚上做了个梦嘛，
Usually, if you have a dream that night, and the next
就
day,
觉得是有某种
if you feel that
预示啊，
预示
it got
征
to
兆
do
哈
with
就觉得是一定有含义。
it, there's a
但是自
certain
己是
reason
怎么
or
解读
reason
我建
behind
议
it,
能
behind
找
the
一找你
dreams.
本地有没有这种通灵者
I think you should try to see if there's
有
some
些
local
你看在
medium.
国外它是有公开营业的嘛，
Well, in
你在台
overseas,
湾、香港
they
是公
do
开营业，
have it.
这个通灵师
And
哈
I think in
对你去问
Taiwan
问
and in
没
Hong
啥
Kong,
坏处
there are
所以还是
such
提醒我们
occupations
网友们
and
如
there
果
are
接受
such.
到这样的信息的时候，别用我们理性的大脑
You will
给
be
它
able
挥
to
之
seek them
不
out.
理一下就挥走了哈，不去
对
理会。对，
因为很多人他是觉得，就那么的，就算是有啥的话， 比如说他做梦哈，很清晰的梦到
For
自己
example, a person
真正
have
开
a
着自己
dream
每天上班的车，
and
就在
remember
半路被
in
一
a
个大
dream
卡
that
车
he
撞了
drives
出了
in a
事故
car, in his
这
own
醒了之
car,
后
and he had an
你要不要
accident.
去上班
So
还
the
是找
question
人
is,
问一
should
问
you go to work?
你是上班重要呢
So
还是出车祸更
what
重
is
要呢
important? Is going
如
to
果
work
为了这个问
important
题
or
说
meet
早
an
晨起来
accident?
赶快给领导打个电话先请个假
So maybe what you
赶快
should do
请
that when you have
同
such
领
a
导问一
dream
问
in the morning,
是怎
you
么
should
回事
try to apply leave, call your
所以
supervisors to apply
就
leave,
我来讲
and
的话
seek a
我所知道
medium
的
to
这种
ask
经
for
验
some
哈比如说我们
explanations.
在昨天晚上到睡觉到早晨
Say,
起
for
来
example, from my
洗
from
漱
my
要准备
experience,
出门
from
之前这
night
些
to
这个过
sleep
程之
to
中
this morning,
发生了特别的
if there is something that
觉得不
happens
顺利的事儿
very
把你给弄痛
unusual,
了比如说哪里流血了
or you cause sudden
你每
bleedings,
天来回走的路
or
就
it cause
一
some
脚
harm,
踢到自己的什么
指头
门槛儿上愣把脚踢得痛得不得了
or you kick your legs
是吧
and the
说
legs
开
is
水把手
extremely
给烫得
painful,
厉害等等
or
的
you
这
have
些
some
现象
burned,
都可能是有某种寓意
there's certain reason
那
behind.
谁给你的这种寓意呢
Who gave
第一
this
个就
to
可
you?
能你们家的守护神
First could be
这个
the
神灵与你的
protective,
信仰有关
protecting
系
deities
比如说
got to
你
do
信耶
with
稣
your
的
religion.
可能耶稣
Say,
或
for
者耶稣
example,
的下
if
属
you
来
are a
给你指导你
Christian,
一下
maybe
那
the
你
Jesus
木纳呀
have
他有一种稍微
commanded
刺
his
激的方法来提醒
messengers
你
to come to
那么
you
信
and
佛的呢
send
可
some
能
message to
佛的一
you.
些护法神
For
菩
Buddhists,
萨
you
来
will
提醒
find
你
that there
你
are
也是
some
木讷
heavenly
呢有
guardians,
更强烈的
the
方法让你感
protectors,
受
they may come
这小心
and
呢有
show
灾
you
祸
some
呀
sign to be careful.
对所以民间老百姓也总结一些那些有这种感受征兆的一些顺口溜比如说左眼跳什么右眼
So
跳
there
什么
is also
左眼
some
跳
human
财，右眼
saying,
跳祸。
跳灾
if with
还
your
有啥
eyes, left eyes
还有有的
blink,
时候打个
it
喷嚏是谁
represents
骗的
wealth,
打
and the
一个
right
喷嚏
eye, it means
打
that there are
两
some
个喷嚏
misfortunes.
打3个喷嚏是
On
啥是吧
if
对
you
它都是有一些
sneeze,
说法
there
的
are certain
这些是大家最后
reason.
总结的
So that's
还
what
有人
people
梦见
conclude.
哎对对对在北方人喝茶哈
So in the
那
northern
茶里面那
place,
个小茶叶棍儿
when they
对啊
drink
如果
tea,
竖着是有亲戚和亲人要见面
哦，
最
If
少
it's-
也是有讯息要来
there are certain
横着呢
messengers.
你看过去没有那个横着的飘着没事儿那是正常状态
So if it's
横着的是
vertical,
正常状态竖着立着的哈
if it's
当你感觉
vertical,
带给你欢喜感
you
的时候
feel that
通常要见
sense
亲人
是有
of
的时候它那个
happiness,
茶叶棍在里头还跳跳。
it brings that
竖着还
your
跳跳
relative is
跳跳
coming to
是
visit
你
you.
特别喜欢的人要见你对要跳跳的对对对对他都是
It
很
may
多的
mean that
现象
someone you
哈
like is
很多的
visiting
现象
you.
它都是有
So
些
there
说
are
法的
many signs
还有
and
你正
many
在
ways of
对了比如说你做
interpretation.
梦的时候梦你牙掉了
So in your dreams, you dream
我
of
多说
dropping
了一
your
点
teeth.
就可能不是面临着明天你有问题
It doesn't mean that something is going to happen to
就
you
可能
tomorrow.
有重病和大灾出现
It may mean that there is some major
对所以有
sickness
很多
coming.
一个是梦境的
One
梦
is
境有
in
很
your
多很清
dreams.
晰的时候是一种预示
It
告
is
诉
a
你接下来
prediction.
可能有问题了
Something's going to happen to
当然也
you.
有坏问题也有好问题
There are some bad problems, there are
就
some
梦
good
见大光明
problems.
之类的就特别光灿灿
Well,
哇
if
特
you
别喜悦
dreams that you
这都是要
have
提升啊发大
greater
财呀
illuminations,
红包啊什么
it may
对不
mean
对
that
找上
you're
对
going
象
to
了哈
have
等
good
等的
fortunes,
都是好事
you're
儿
going to
来
find a good partner.
哎
These are
对
all
咱这
positive.
掉牙呀
But
做梦
if
哈
you
脱头发呀
drop your
还有
hair,
悬崖的
or
呢，
you have some
跌
blood,
跌落的那
or
种，
if you
跌落
drop your
悬崖不一
teeth,
定是大坏事儿
哦
只是疲劳
累的
it doesn't, it's not good.
哦
But
因为
if you
跌下
drop
悬崖它
down
不
the
是不痒
cliffs, it is
这是两
different
回事儿
from
这是累的
it
累的
is
心脏呢
it's different from paralysis. It just means that you lack
这时候这两
energy.
天要好好睡睡觉
Maybe
休息
it just means that you are
所以有
tired.
很多这种
You
预
need to
兆预
rest
示
more.
哈其实
So
要学着
there are
解
a
读
lot of signs that
真
you
的
need
真
to
要
be
学习。
在
interpret,
天
and
地
there are
间
lots of
哈我
learnings.
传递一点知识性哈
So in
天地间的
nature,
万事万物的明显的
everything,
显现
the
一定有它的
sign
含义
has a specific meaning.
是的，
一定有含义
Definitely, there are reasons behind, there are
这样。
interpretations behind.
嗯
要学会去，
就是对
就以前师傅说 check your message，
对
对
对
对，
对你要会解读这个
So
信
it's
息
important for
但是一
you
般
to
不会解
interpret
读
the
一
sign.
般不会，
当然像我讲到这儿的时候呢大家如果 果有什么觉得需要去 解读的这个讯息的话，
If you
我们
find
到我们
that
菩提禅堂哈，
do you
我
need
们
to
菩提禅堂有很多解签师哈，
find
很多
a
修得
way
好的老师哈，
so
他们靠的
to
不是这
to
个经验，
interpret
而是灵性。
So
灵
what they have, you can go to our meditation centers. We do have our divine lords teachers that can help you to resolve or help you to interpret. And they didn't use experience to help them, but they use their intuitions to help you. Master, we have another story that also very interesting. So, in the prison in Florida, there's a prisoner had the same strange dreams for several days. And in the dream, it was snowing and the man was holding his hand, walking by the lake. So this dream puzzled him because he had never seen snow in Florida since childhood. So Florida is a little bit like Fujian, Guangdong area, so it's not doesn't have snow. However, the scenes in the dream kept lingering in his mind, familiar yet unfamiliar, making him restless and unable to settle. So the unusual behavior of the prisoner caught the attention of the prison guards. Although he was a troubled youth who had committed serious crimes, he behaved well in prison and was about to be released. However, in the 11th years of his sentence, he began to show emotional fluctuations, which alerted the guards. So the prisoner wrote a letter requesting the prison to help in clarifying his parentage. So although this request was somewhat unexpected, the prison decided to assess him. So it turned out that the prisoner had lived in Florida since childhood and was raised by his grandfather. However, after his grandfather's death, he was fostered by his aunt, who rarely cared for him beyond food and drink, making his character increasingly reclusive. Especially after conflicts with other children, no one helped him. Being small, he often lost in fight and was ridiculous as a child without parents. Many adults also intentionally or unintentionally mentioned that he was adopted, which made him deeply resentful of his origins. This later directly led him dropping out of elementary school and hanging out with a group of delinquent children, leading to frequent visits to prison, becoming a norm. So he wished his parents could come and see him, but the parents mentioned by his grandfather had never appeared. So the guard checked the visitor records and found that in the 11 years he had been in prison, not a single relative had come to visit him, nor had there been a letter or a phone call. This revelation sent a chill down their spines. Without the love of family, how could the prisoner reintegrate into society in the future? Soon, two guards went to the prisoner's hometown to investigate. However, upon arrival, they learned that his parents were not at home and were still elsewhere. But when they asked for his parents' contact information, his aunt says that she had no contact with his parents either. So seeing that the investigation hitting a dead end, a neighbor in the 60s provided useful information. Actually, this family is very strange. They didn't see the wife pregnant back then, and they didn't celebrate the child's birth later. So the child's parents said that they were not working in Texas, but they actually returned from California. So everyone believes the child was brought back from California by them. But California is too large. How could they find the child's biological parents? At this moment, one guard suddenly remembered the prisoner always mentioning the dream of snow. Does California have places where it snows? One word awakened the dreamer. The guard checked the climate of California and found that the high altitude areas in California are relatively colder and may experience snow. So, the guard posted a missing person notice for the prisoner online, which quickly attracted the attentions of local online communities. After a lot of forwarding, and on the fourth day of the notice being posted, the prison received a call. A middle-aged woman says her brother had been kidnapped as a child, and the family had been searching for him for many years. When she saw the photos, she felt it resembled her brother. Moreover, there was a lake near their home, and it snowed in winter, which is very similar to the prisoner's dream. So, the prison arranged for the two to undergo DNA testing. A week later, the surprising results came out. They were siblings with the same mother. After confirming their identities, the prison immediately arranged for the sister to meet the prisoner. So the family cried in each other's arms. Originally a family, since the brother was kidnapped, it was difficult to describe. For many years, in order to find the brother, the family worked and searched for him. But in the end, they still couldn't find him. What's even more regrettable was that their father passed away not long ago. Still yearning to find the son before he died, at the days when the father died were exactly the days when the prisoner repeatedly had the dream. So the father's love and longing could actually transcend the boundary of life and death. Longing for his son his entire life, the father found his son in his dreams after he passed away.
这是令人很感慨呀。对。这个好像让我们感觉说，这个灵魂，刚才我们也谈到哈，灵魂它能够有更强的能力，能够去到更多的地方，看到更不一样的东西哈。
to go to more places.
人在人世间找失散的儿子找不到，
So he couldn't find his wife, he couldn't find his son when he was alive, but when he departed, his spirit could locate the son. So, why did the father send dreams to the child only after his death? How did the spirit send dreams, Master? I spoke before in the spiritual world, whether he is in the higher realms or in hell, so we just consider them at the spirit world. The time-space is different from the human realms. So the questions that you have is like, why is it that when he was alive he couldn't locate his son, and why is it that when he passed away he could enter the dreams of the son? Because the human doesn't have the ability to enter someone's dream. Although you can have these feelings very strong of longing a person, but the human doesn't have the capabilities to enter into the dreams of the person that they want to seek. So sometimes when they can sneeze, when someone thinks about them, but they do not know why. Do you know who is thinking of you when you sneeze? There's so many relatives and friends, how do you know which one is thinking of you? But the dream was so real. There's no scenes, there's a lake. And it's actually during the period, around the same period when the father passed on. Actually, the father entered his dreams. Yes, because in the spirit world, the spirits can enter the human dreams. Say, for example, you have a relative in China and you're in Canada. And if this relative already departed, and if this deceased relative want to visit you, this deceased relative doesn't need to take an aircraft. It is like in an instantaneous moment, like just push the door, will be able to enter your dreams. That's how it is. That's the speed. So they just need to have one thought. In one thought, the spirit will be able to visit you. So it is beyond time-space. It is this phenomenon may be a bit difficult for you to understand. But we talk about the whole clock. So the clock didn't, the spirit world, it didn't really move. It's right at the center of the two hands. That's the spiritual world. And then we as a human world, we keep moving, and our hands or our middle hands is moving. And for the spirit world, they can just enter any time space. So because it's at the heart of the hands of the hour hands and the minutes hand of the clock. So when the deceased father long to see the son, all he have to do is one thought, you'll be able to enter the dream of the son. So, Master, is it because that he has this very intense desire to seek out the sons, and that's why he's able to appear in the dreams of the son? Yes, because the spirit has a lot of loves, has a lot of despair, has a lot of these feelings when intensify, it can make it so real. So why did the spirits come to visit you? Well, there are only two reasons: extreme love or extreme hatred. Then you enter into your space. So enter your dreams. The dreams is your own virtual world. So if a person, before he passes away, he has certain dreams, would it affect the reincarnations of the person? Yes, it will. So if the person has a very strong, intense desire, because they have the sense, the feelings of, and when these feelings is very intense, so within the 49 days, they will let the Lord Yama know their wish. Say, for example, the departed one may say that there was injustice to my death. And for example, if the person went to enter into the prison, the prisoner entered the prison but was being hit to death by other prisoner. So he may want to seek revenge. So the judge in the underworld may ask him, so how do you want to seek revenge? You want to have a fast revenge or slow revenge? If the departed soul said that he wanted to have a fast revenge, and maybe Lord Yama may say that I will arrange for you to seek revenge with two followers. So they will kill the other person, the person or the children of the murderer. But it must be indeed the truth. So the judge in the underworld, when they look at the departed soul, you will be able to make a decision very quickly. So if the person reincarnated but has a lot of hard feelings, a lot of bad feelings, he may be reincarnated and still suffer depression. So it may be better for the soul, for the deceased, to seek revenge quickly. So if they want to have a slower revenge, maybe the judge in the underworld may say that, well, maybe you can be the wife of that person. So they must have some debt. And that's why they become husband and wife. Well, Master, I think if we hear that, it's because of that collecting.
他真的爱你。
Well, but a lot of time it's
就
true
在
love.
茫茫人群之中，
So
看他一眼，
when you see
你
that
的小魂
person
儿就给勾走了。
and feel that wow,
这
who
是种
that
情谊
person,
啊
I like
他
that
没有别的
person.
相欠，就是喜欢，
You just like that
啊
person.
就是喜欢，对不对？
我们要找这种善缘的哈。
对吧？
We want to
说来
find
了之
such
后
relationships.
喜欢，其实刚才你晃一下，那是鬼，
哦，
那怎么办呢？阎王爷就安排，哎，那鬼先脱生，你跟着再脱生，是吧？你们俩恋爱去吧。哎，这是，就像那首歌，他们走在一块儿是因为爱情。
So there's these songs that if they're together, it's because of love. So there are two ways of people to be together, of marriage. One is because they want to take revenge. That's why they are married.
因为爱情。
And secondly, because of love, because of deep love, and they're together.
师傅还有一种慢慢折磨的，就是他
There are
托生
one
给
that's
这
a
个
third
仇
type
人家
that's
孩
slow
子
suffering,
要债，
because children
托生
become
兄弟
debt
姐妹。
collecting son,
对，一辈子都躲
or
不
they can
开
be
呀
躲不
siblings.
开的亲情嘛，
对，
You cannot
永
avoid.
远在一起咬。
They have been
就
fought,
像
they have been
就像我看
intertwined.
在网上哈，有一
I've
个
seen
人
on
家
the
呢
internet
养了一条眼镜蛇，
that
养了一
the
个猴
person has
这个
a
眼镜蛇特
cobra,
别贱，这
and
个
this
猴呢是
cobra,
绑了
the
个铁链
snake,
子跑不了。这个眼镜蛇呢，总是没事就跑到这个猴跟前逗它这个猴。
哦，
这猴这个烦呢，它
and like to look for
我哪
the
为了欠你的，
monkey.
你总是在我跟前溜球。
And the monkey cannot escape because there's a chain.
也不真咬我，这把猴看得恶心的够呛，但没有办法，
So
这就是相
they
欠
have a
的
very
相欠。
weird relationship between the cobra and the monkey.
不是，那变成了蛇，我更追你。就是反正就是欠。
So they have
对
some
他俩互
debts
相折磨啊。
between them, and that's why they cause suffering to each one. And that's why a lot of
对有些
relationship is like
有些
that.
仇就是说我让你立刻就死。
Some,
我
for
不用
some,
管事
when they seek
他成了
revenge, they have
厉鬼
instant
嘛
death.
就来这要你的命。
哦
They just want
所
the
以有
life.
些报复还是得到了阎王爷的许可的，
So in fact, some of the revenge got approved by Lord
派人支
Yama.
持你，
对，
是吧？说那小子太坏了，早
They
就
say,
弄死
yeah,
他了
indeed, that person is
说到
very
我们
bad
这儿来
person, so yes,
地
you
狱
can
是
go
吧
and take
就是
revenge.
这样子的，叫罪恶满盈嘛。
所以说就是这个因果不爽哈。
对
对，善有善
And
报，
that's why
恶
we
有恶
talk
报
about
不是不
karma.
到时候没到
Everything is based on
人
karma.
在做，天在看。
Whatever you do,
所以
the
很多
heaven is
夫妻
watching
也考
you.
虑一下，你们是哪一种缘？
So for husband and wife, you may want to think what is your relationship based on? Is it based on kindness, based on love, or is it based on taking
做
revenge?
牛做马，还债。
如果每个人都这么想哈，夫妻呀就好
太平
了，
啦。
是不是啊？都想，我想，
把债早还。
If everybody want to repay kindness and enter relationships, then we have a lot of harmonious
都是
marriages.
好夫妻。
All couples will be good couples and happy marriage. There'll be happy
多
marriages.
听一听，
对
哎，改变这种关系。
对，
嗯，
可以转换的。
Actually, you can
你
change.
现在今世还不完哈，
So in this
还
life,
是
you
接
cannot
着还
repay
的
finish.
难过呀。
In the future life, you will continue to repay. So if it's sufferings, if you will end up bringing the suffering to the next life.
老头儿80岁，老太太72岁。
Imagine the guy is 80 years old, the lady is 70 years old. They kept arguing.
骂别骂了，我爹都断气儿了，
还骂呀
断气儿我还得骂他，让他不得解脱。哎呦，这骂的，最后是超度啊哈。
Some, when it
超度
goes so
点这个灯就
much,
点不着啊。
and they find that when the old man passed away, they had difficulties trying to light the
到
lamps.
处点灯就急得受不了了。
And
这
the priest
什
has
么呀
difficulties trying to
来点那
light the
个
lamps at the funeral.
对对，点着点，啪就灭了。
Or
一
the
股
lights
阴风来就
just
吹灭。
just kept
他当时气
blown
的时候
away.
你们这些不孝子孙全跪在那儿晒的，新加坡多热呀！就在他道场院子里跪着在那晒。
And this
一晒4个
happens
小时
in Singapore. They have to
3口
kneel
就晒
down.
昏过去了。晒昏过去就看着老爷子那个灵魂过来，
And then when
一
they
边在那
faint,
飘过来一边就哭啊。
they start to see the old guy crying,
最后那个
the
道士啊
spirits of
没
the
办
old
法
guy's
给
spirit.
他们要延迟7天呐，给他做法会。
So in the end, the priests have to perform another ritual
说我本来还
7
多活2
days
年就
later
让老太太给骂死了。
because he was scolded to death by the wife.
今世没报完的仇哈。
So the revenge unsettled in this life, you have to pay again.
太可怕了。
And the karma is such that you have to pay in full. Otherwise, you'll be bring to the next life, in a reincarnated life. And that's why it's important for you to serve your family. There's a reason why you are together. You must use kindness to repay the bad treatments that people gave you. They'll be able to solve the problems.
说得太好了。
Thank you, Master.
好的，好的，
好的。
我们再听一个故事吧。
Let's hear another stories,
来
Master.
听一个这个美国的神经外科医生
This is
哈
a
这个呢就不
neurosurgeon
是说
in the
他的灵
US.
魂了，那是也是他的灵魂，他的濒死体
And
验
he
啊，
has
这个很有
this
趣啊。
near-death
真人真事啊，我
experience.
们的今天都是真人真事。
Today,
这
the
个是
stories are all
2008
real
年的一个
person
清晨
and real
呐
stories.
啊，凌晨4
So on
点
a
半
clear
左右
morning in
55岁的神经
2008,
外科医生
a
亚历山大
43
博士突然就
at
被痛
4:30
醒
in
了。
the early
他先是
hours,
背部剧
Dr.
痛，紧接
Alexander,
着呢
which
是一
is a
场头
neurosurgeon,
痛欲
suddenly
裂。
woke up
被
in
送到医
agony.
院的时候，他已经
First,
陷
there
入
was
了
a
深度
severe
昏迷。
back pain,
他
followed
感染了一种
immediately
非常
by
罕
a
见的
very
细菌
extreme
性脑
painful
膜
headache.
炎。这也
When
是
he
脑
was
膜炎
taken
中
to
最
the
为危
hospital, he had
险的一
fallen
种。
into a
医
deep
生当时
coma.
就给他的妻
He
子
had
下了严
contracted a
重的
very
预警，
rare form
告诉
of
他亚历山大很可能
bacterial
会失去
type of
生命。
meningitis,
在
the
医院
most
的那一
dangerous
周
type
里，亚历
of
山大的生命
meningitis.
就如同
The
消逝的
doctors
烛火一
issued a
般，
serious warning
病
to
情
the
不断
wife,
的加重，
telling
各种
that
抗生
the
素对
husband
脑
is
膜
likely
炎
to
都没有
lose
任
his
何
life.
效果。
In
病
that
情
week
持
in
续
a
恶化，
hospital,
到第7
life
天，
seems to
医生
flicker
估
like a
计亚
dying
历山大博
candle.
士的生
The
存机会
condition was
仅仅
extremely
有
severe,
2%，
and he had used
建议
very
停止
strong
使用所有抗
antibiotics,
生
but
素，
to have
因为
no
已经没有
effect.
希望了，而且也没有
And
任
also
何
the
愈后
conditions
复原的希望。
continue to deteriorate
那医生们
steadily.
呢，也没有找到这个亚历山大博士神秘病症的原因。
And the doctors
那
also
博
had
士
not
他
be
后
able to
来
find
就
the
是
cause of the mysterious
活回来了
illness.
之后哈，他描述当时
But
他
when
在
he
医院那一
recovered,
周，
he
他的
described
那个状况
himself
是什么？
as being
他说自己
reborn
好像重生成为一团
into
原
a
始而
primitive
莹莹的
and
果
muddy
冻状的
jelly-like
物质。
substance.
他说他被一个
Then,
天使般的
being
女
led
子
by
引
an
领到了一
angelic
个巨
woman
大的虚空
into
之
a
中。
vast
这个虚空开
emptiness.
始是一片漆
This
黑的，
emptiness
但
was
随后
initially
呢，
pitch
就
dark,
出现了一个光
but
球，
then
球
a
体
sphere
洒下了
appeared,
耀眼的白光，
shedding a
还伴随着美妙的
dazzling
音
white
乐，
light
他就被
accompanied
轻
by
轻地
beautiful
吸入了那
music.
个光球之中。
He was gently
接下
drawn
来呢，
into the
他
light
看到了一
sphere.
个非常美丽的世界，那
Next,
里的花
he was
草
taken
树
to
木
an
色彩
extraordinarily
绚烂
beautiful
夺目，
world,
蝴
where
蝶
the
翩翩
flowers,
起舞，
trees,
鲜
and
花盛
grass
开，
were
还有
dazzling
舞
in
动的灵
colors,
魂和
and
飞翔
butterflies
在
were
天空
dancing,
的天
and
使合
flowers were
唱团。
blooming.
他说这
And
个
also
地
there were
方啊，
dancing
比
souls
他
and a
来
choir of
从
flying
现
angels.
实世界来的这个世
So
界更
this
真
place
实。
seemed more
而在
real
那里呢，
than the
他
real
描
world.
述他不需要用眼睛看，
There
也
was
不
no
用
need
耳
to
朵
see
听
with
他有
eyes
的时
or
候
hear
感
with the
觉会
ears.
成为那个世界的一部
Sometimes
分，
the
甚
feeling
至
would
化
become
身
part
为
of that
那个世
world,
界中的一些生
even
物或者群
reincarnating
体，
as
去
other
感受和
creatures
理
and
解他
groups,
们，和他
to
们产
feel
生
and
共鸣。
understand them and
在整
resonate
个的
with
旅
them.
程中，亚历山大
Throughout
说
the journey,
他在蝴蝶
Alexander
的翅
said
膀
he
上，
was
他
a
就
speck
好
of
像是
dust
一粒尘
on the
埃，
wings
而在
of a
他的旁边
butterfly.
呢，有一个他
And
从来没
beside
有
him
见过的
was
美
a
丽的女
beautiful
孩，
girl
像
he had
天使一
never
样。
seen
这个
before.
女子从来没
The
有开
girl
口
had
说
never
过一句
spoken a
话，
word,
但是
but
她
her
无条件的
unconditional
爱
love
直接
was
传递到了亚
directly
历山大的
transmitted
意
to
识
the
之
doctor's
中。亚历
consciousness.
山大形容
He
女孩长得
described
非
the
常美
girl
丽，
as
高
very
颧骨，
beautiful,
有一双
with
清
high
澈如水
cheekbones
的蓝
and
眼
clear
睛。
blue eyes
她
like
没有对
water.
我说一句话，
She
可
never
是
said
她的
a
眼
word to
神
him,
传递给我的
but
信
the
息
message
是：
conveyed to
你被
him
深
through her
深地
eyes
爱着，
was,
珍
"You
视
are
着，
deeply
不
loved,
需要害怕，一
cherished,
切都
and
会
there
好
is
起
no
来，
need to be
不用
afraid.
担心。
Everything will be
这个女
fine.
孩还
Don't
通过思
worry."
想告诉亚
She
历
also
山大：
told him
你
through
不
her
是来
thoughts,
这里久
"You
留
are
的，
not
你
here to
会回
stay.
去的。
You will go back."
亚历山大博士在昏迷的
On
第
the
7
7
天，
days
他
of
自然而
Alexander's
然地
coma,
醒来
he
了。
woke up.
在这之后的
In
几
the
天
following
中，
days,
他快速地
he
恢复了语
gradually
言能
regained
力，
his
恢
language
复了记忆，
body, and his childhood and important life memories were also recalled within 1 or 2 weeks. More than 20 years of neurosurgical experience, as well as all other scientific and intellectual knowledge, gradually returned in a layer-by-layer manner, fully recovered about 8 weeks after the coma. And the doctors was amazed by his miraculous recovery. And Alexander enjoyed a high reputation in the field of neurosurgery, trained at Duke universities, and taught and practiced medicine for many years at the top institutions, Harvard University. He wrote in his books, "During my coma, my brain was not misfiring. It wasn't firing at all. No dreams or hallucinations could possibly occur. So everything he saw was not a product of brain's activities. Science believes the brain creates consciousness, so science cannot experience his experience." He later read many other people's near-death experiences, which has many similarities to his own, such as feeling infinite love, seeing lights. But one thing puzzled him, because generally in near-death experiences, one sees deceased relatives, but the blue-eyed girl he encountered was not familiar to him. Alexander was adopted by his parents, and after finding his biological parents, he discovered that a sister had passed away at the age of over 30. She was a very kind person. When she saw a photo of his sister, he was shocked, because the blue-eyed girl in the photo was exactly the angel who guided him in his near-death experience. At the age of 58, Dr. Alexander's near-death experience brought about a huge change in his life, and he documented his experience in the book Proof of Heaven. He knew he was taking a risk with a professional reputation, and when writing this book, but he hoped that his expertise would convince the skeptics, especially medical skeptics, as he once was, to open their hearts to the possibility of the afterlife. And his near-death experience changed his view of life. So his coma was very strange as well. There's no early sign, and then he deteriorated within a very short time, and the doctor says that they couldn't help him. But 7 days later, he had a speedy recovery. It's as if that the experience was allowing him to learn and experience the lives. So just thinking, why is it that he has a strange illness? Maybe it's the will of the God that want him to experience the near-death experience, to visit heaven, or what it's like to be in heaven. But why did God choose him? Because there are many people. Well, I think it's because of his reputations. Doctor, what do they represent? They are very highly intellect, and they believe in the science. They are not like an author. They can write fiction stories, fictitious stories. They can make stories out. So they are very creative. But for doctors, you cannot rely on creativities in the job. We have to be very specific. They are like mathematicians. They have to be very precise. So for a neurosurgeon, he experienced it himself. So people know that he has his reputation, and people will believe in what he said. And that's why he was the chosen one. And his biological sisters that he didn't even experience before, didn't know before. It is only later on that he realized that this is the late sister.
应上了，
who was the angels that guided
这
him.
样的之后，他真的是相信了灵魂的存在。
And after this
也
experience,
相信了轮
he
回
believed in
对
afterlife,
死亡
he
他就有了
believed
新的
in
看
reincarnations,
法。
he has a
那他在描
different
述他的这个经历的
experience
时候，有一
and
段很
different
有
point of
趣
view.
他说。他知道他那个时候大脑是不工作的，
He shared that
完全都
he
关
knew
闭
that
了
at that
可
point
是
in
他在
time,
那个世界
the
中，
brains
他
shut down
不
the
是用眼睛去
functions.
看，也
He
不是用
didn't
耳朵
use
去
his
听，
eyes
可
to
是他
see
仿佛就
and
成为了那
ears
个
to
世界的一
sense.
部分，能够
But
感受，
somehow
能
he
够
could
共鸣。
immerse into
这
that and
这
be
个是
with
一
that
种什么样
experience.
的
So,
体验？
what is
这
that
个
type of
奇怪，就是
experience
他
like?
你也不是你说他没有用眼睛去看，但是他清清楚楚
So
看
we
到他
talk
妹妹
about
的那个
him
天使
not
嘛，
using
蓝
the
眼睛的
eyes to
天
see
使
it,
那么美
but he
丽，
could
还有那个
describe
鲜花
the
盛开呀
the
等等。
sisters.
那
He
那
could
这个景象
describe
不
the
就是
blooming
看到的
flowers.
吗？
Is
难
that
道不是用
view
眼睛是用什么
that
呢？
use the eyes to see?
其实
If it's not
换一个
eyes,
东西
then
哈
what?
和这个是有绝对差别的。比如说咱们做梦的时候，
So we
有时候
talk about our
不管
dreams.
模糊的梦
When we
还
have
是清晰
dreams,
的梦，
our dreams,
它
at
都有很
times
多
our
故事情
dreams are
节
very
和
clear.
和那
There
个
are times
图
our
案
dreams
对
are
和真实
very
发生一样，
blur.
对不对？
对对对，
我们知道，但是我们在一个人体借助人体在睡眠的时候，和医生说2%还是5%的脑袋工作，
对
这个工作类似一种幻觉
But we
感，
know that
对不对？
when we are
这个幻
sleeping,
觉感
there are
呢，就
certain
形成
portion
了
of
梦。
our brain is
那
still
梦的形成
working.
呢，可能就日有所思，夜有所
And
梦。
why do dreams
或
occurs?
者
Maybe
是
because
奇闻
if
异
you're
事或者疲劳之
experienced
后
during
的
when
一
you're
种，
awake,
比如说坠下楼
and
来啊的那
the
种感觉。
experience causes a
是吧？
lasting
各种各样
impression
的
on your
梦。
brain,
但是我知道
and
说
that's
这
why
个
you
东西它
dream of
毕竟
it.
还依附于人体和脑，
脑在工作呢。
才做了这个梦，
对，
对吧？但是这个在做梦的时候，你的听见、看见，
So
那你说是
actually, in
眼
the
在听
dreams,
还是耳
the
眼
eyes and the
眼
ears
在看
are
耳在
not.
听吗？
Is it really your
不
eyes
是，
to
对不
see
对？
and your
是
ears to
眼睛
hear?
都闭着呢
No,
嘛。
但是
they are all
人们
closed
只
in your
能说
dreams
那
when
是一
you're
种梦
sleeping.
境的类似
But people would say
类似
that
幻
that
觉
is
的
very
梦境。
much like
那
in
濒
the
死体验这个
dreams.
医生呢，亚历山大医生，他其实已经他的大脑停止运转
So
了。
for Alexandra,
对不
Dr.
对？大脑
Alexandra,
不
his
工作了。
brain already
其实
stopped
按照西
functioning.
方医学来说，他已经被宣布脑死亡的人，宣布脑已经死亡了，
对，
对吧？那你最后你还回来之后说了这些东西，
对
看见、听见、知道那么多，
So
还有
after
美好的
he
感受，对不对？
he
简直
recovered,
像亲身
he
游历了
was
一番
able
一样。
to share.
那你的问题是说，他的大脑不工作了，你
Your
肯定不
question
可能再
is,
通过眼睛、
If his
脑的
mind is not
想象
working
对，
脑的
and
幻
he
觉
couldn't see and
身体
not
的触
hear,
觉，
也不是梦。
已
What
经
is
不
that?
依赖于身体和
is
脑
that
了。
something that his body
对不对？
to function, to
已
feel,
经
to
不
have
会
the
做梦
dreams?
对对，
No,
脑死亡了。
actually,
什么在体
when
验
he
呢？
was
就
in
是说
coma, the body cannot
因此说
generate
只能是叫
dreams.
灵魂的
We
体
can only say
那
that
也
that
就是
is
说
the
灵魂的体验
experience of the
那我们的
spirit.
脑能记得住吗？
You may say
所以
that,
我们
well,
在有很
can
多
our
的这
brains
个
record down the
所谓在我们的
experience
意
with the
识之中的
spirit?
东西，
It is in
很
our
多东西
consciousness.
不是来自于脑。
Actually, a lot of things doesn't come from our
我们
brains.
我在看到一些获得诺贝尔奖的科学家，他
We
在
do have
解
some
破他一个
scientists,
科学难题的时候，
Nobel
很多它并
scientists.
不是来自于科学的推理，
A lot of time when they solve
有个别是
a
来自于
very
梦境
complex
或
question,
者神灵的启发，
it is not
还有人摔
through
了个
their
跟头就
own
受到了
thinking
启发，
capabilities.
对吧？
A
所
lot
以
of
很多东
times
西来
in
自于
based
不是
on
他
their
他的脑，
inspirations,
但
maybe
是我们有无
inspired
法
by
解释的某种
past
外力
leaders.
传达到你的意识之中了，
So how do
这
they
样的一
do?
种东西。
It is through the external force.
嗯，
They combine
西藏
and get it
有一种身份的
sent
人
to your
叫
brains.
做说书人，
So in Tibet,
尤其
there's
是
a
说
type
书
of
说那个
people,
曾经有过的，
and they
就大
talk
约
about
唐
this
代时
person
期
is
的有
about
一位
talking book
唐代
person.
之前的一位王叫格萨尔王。有一种说书艺人在西藏，这种人可能超过1、2千个。
There's about
他呢，
1,000 to 2,000 of
这
such
叫做
people.
不靠谱的说书，我们只能用这个词来形容。
They will talk the books, but it
就
hasn't
是
have
说
logic,
他说的格萨尔
illogical.
王多牛，多么神圣，就是历史上从没有人去重复再
So they
说
talk
同一
about
个故事。
The stories, there's no
已经说了上千
repeat
年
of
了。
their stories.
他的故事不能重复哦。这一重复，大家说，哎呀，不行，没灵感。
Because once they repeat the stories, people will say that, oh, you lack
坐那儿也好，坐那儿
creativities.
说好，叭叭 啪一说一整天。
He can talk for the entire day.
我说不是今天不能重复，而且说他讲的今天的故事从来没有人讲过。
So what I say is that the story that he says is not known to others. Nobody have said the stories before. So the story just appears in his brain, in his mind, and he uses his mouth to talk. So this is something that nobody is able to comprehend. So these people also, can they communicate with the spirit? Yes. They only talk about Gesar Wang, the king, Gesar king. But I feel that this person has intuitions and has the ability. So basically, these thoughts enter the consciousness, and these stories, or be it answer to a mathematic question, it may not be directly from the memories of the brains. No, it's not. Or something that you have seen on the movies. No. It is something from beyond. We talk about Queen Victoria, about the sorceress, the books that the sorceress wrote. And he said that actually this book is not written by me. It is my friend in the spirit world that read to me, and I just wrote it down. It's the same as the epic of King Gesar. But in these stories, in the stories of Dr. Alexander, his spirits had left his body. So this is even more secretive. Yes, because it's definitely is about the spirit, it's the encounter of the spirit. So Master, we learned meditations, and Master says that in a deep meditative state is very beautiful. So is it something like the spirit enjoyment, or is it feelings of the mind and the spirit? You talk about the meditation's experience. There are two broad categories. It's actually there's a distinction. Maybe you meditate at 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. You continuously stays at the physical forms, the feelings of the physical forms. Like you still think, why is it that I have a backache? Why is it that my leg is so stiff? But that is just the physical feelings. And when you can overcome that, when you go to a higher level, maybe you can feel that, why is it that I have no mouth, or I have mouth? Or I become a transparent person. And this still lies in the body feelings. But it is a little bit void. So when you go to a deeper level, it's an unknown. You are known because you do not know what are you doing. It is like the movie, Who Am I? The I has no existence. It just disappears. And this disappearance in meditation, it is just a transition state. So if you are not being disturbed, and if you go deeper, you need to have merits. You'll be able to enter to a deeper level. It's just like when you're playing a computer games. When you able to reach the next level, it is different experience. So when you enter the next level, what comes to you is not bullets anymore. They are the spirits and they are ghosts, the evil spirits. So you need to enter the various states of cultivations. When you lose the sense of cells and the form,
就根本就不存在。
So the existence
我和
has
这个世
no
界根本不
form.
存在，也没
The
有一个
world
我
has
在
no
坐船，
form. There's also
没有
no
知觉，
me
没有任
in
何的印象。
meditations.
等
There's
过了
no
这样的一个时
impressions
间，
and
我们
no
把这个东
thoughts.
西也可以把它叫中阴界哈，
So when we
过了这
reach
个中阴界
that
之后，
level,
也叫黑暗期，
it
过了
is
这
a
个之后，
next level.
才可能偶尔感觉到。我在每一次感受不同哈。
I
在我年
have
轻
a
的时候
different
就是说
experience every
有
time.
时候就突然感觉到，怎么这个世界那么很
And
丝滑的感
sometimes
觉啊？
I have a
就像
different
有特别
feelings
像卖巧
of
克力广告
the，world.
怎么这个世界是丝丝滑滑的，
Why
那
is
么
the
舒服
world
呀？
so comfortable?
刹那间，就又闪过了一个
And
东西
in
了，
the
就
moment,
好
there's
像跨越了一
another
个时空一
image.
样。
And the image is like
怎
you
么这
reach
个
a
世界这
different
么冷
level.
清呢？再又到了下一个时空，不是你自己想来的。
And to the next space, time space, it is
怎
not
么
like you
那个
choose
世
to
界
go
有
there.
淡淡的光呢？
There is this light.
啊，如果
Gentle
我们把这
lights
故事发展的话，那个感受发展就是，哎，怎么这个光慢慢和我融合了呢？
When you develop further, why is it that I
在那
merge
个
with
状
the
态里头
light?
没有一个我的人形
There
的
is
形体的概
no
念。
human
怎么
thoughts.
这个
There's
光和
no
我
human
融合了呢？
这个
forms.
我是谁？
如果演
Who
电影
is
的
the
话，就没有
I?
一个说像人形的一个意象的，
There's
没有
no a physical form that
都和我
exists
融
in
合了
that
呢。
state.
其实这个时候你就是光，光就是你。
And at the
而它没有
moment,
一个
you
人体
are
的
light,
形
and
在
the light is you. It transcends
那一般
form.
人说，在想象中哈，既然是光，光一定是热的。
More people may say, most people may say,
在禅境中就不一
well,
定。
it's light.
禅
Light
境
is
告诉你
warmth.
的
No.
很多禅境都是假的，
Actually,
但是
in the
最后真实的
meditative
禅境
state,
中
it just tells you that
说
everything
没
is
有
unreal.
冷热。
And in
没
that
有生
meditative step,
当
there's
它有
no
的时候
life
突然之间
forms.
好像到了一个
There's no
就
warmth.
以为是宇宙尽头的那么一
You
个
thought that you have
口的一个地方的时候，
you have reached the end of
就是你
the
那个
universe.
你不知道是不是你的一种东西，
You're
就
not
是
sure
总
if
想
that's
哭。
you. It is
当
like
总想哭的时候，如果这个时候你睁开眼，你发现你
if
前
you
面的
want
衣
to
服都已经
cry,
湿透了，都是你流的眼泪，
and when you open your
你
eyes,
才感受到说
you
我
realize
想
that you've
哭
been tearing.
啊，为什么是这样呢？
Why is it like that?
当你发现了，比如说世界的起源的时
Because
候，
when you find that the
你激不激动啊？
source of the universe,
还有
will
说
you be
当你发现了你的
will
这
you
一
be
代的
touched and
父母亲
excited?
站在那里，前一代的父母亲站在那
Or
里，
you see
而且
that
你
your
自己可以用你的感受
parents
可以
in
证
this
明
life,
说
in your
他们告
past
诉你
lives
他
are
是你
there. And if you
200
can
年前的
sense
父母
that
他是你300
you
年
are
前的
all
父母
related, you
一
can
排
know
排站
that
着
they are
一
your
大排的时候，你
parents
激不激
of
动呢？
past life, your parents of past life.
不一定，
How will you
激
feel?
动是你自己想的。
You think that
因
you'll
为
be
顺着我说的
excited?
激动，你这么想的激动，不一定，
Not necessary.
都不一定，因为关你还没弄清，虽然知道父母是谁，
Because
你
you
并不
know
知道
that
自己是谁。
who are your parents, but you do not know who you are.
从这个世界这个道来说，
From the Tao of the
你这
universe,
一世的父母也许是你
these
前世的学生，
parents or the parents could be in this life could be your students from your past
你
life.
主使你的父母成为今世的父母，你到这个世界上来干啥来？
Or
在
maybe
那个时候，到那样一
you
种
know
完全
that
翻
why
天
you
覆
have
地地看到
parents,
这个世界
in
的
order
时
for
候，
you to come to this world
人
to
是
serve a purpose.
啊，
When you enter into
不知
that
道怎么
state,
形容，
it is difficult
你
to
只能
describe
其实有
that
一种感觉，
feelings,
奇妙，
the state of mind.
觉得不可思议。
You maybe it's
但
just
虽然
like
不
it's
可思议
amazing.
但是自己还觉得就是这样，它就
Amazing
是
at
这
the
样
same time you feel
还
that
在
it's
不断地
just
接
like
受着
that.
这种感觉。
And you have to accept that type
就
of
是这样子的
feelings.
你看到了父母在那里的时候，可能瞬间
When
像
you
光
see
一
your
样
parents are
就
there,
散开了，消失了。
maybe in a moment they just disappear.
对，所以到那个禅的那个世界
So
当
when
中
you，enter into that
你问
deep
我体验的
meditative
是
state,
什么？
what do
或
you
者谁在体
experience?
验？
Who experience it? I don't know.
但是最终，你清醒过来之后，
But
你只能说
ultimately,
是
when
我
you
的体验
gain consciousness,
因
you
为你
can
没
say
法说
that
这是别人的体
I
验。
experienced that because you can't
所以
say
为什么在
another person experienced that.
这个佛教的禅学之中，经常说
And that's why
无
in
我
Buddha, in the
无
Buddhist
我这个概念说，这
meditative
是本相。
state, we
这
say
是一个
that
事
that is
实。
the
当
original
你
form,
太认
the
定说
true
我就是
form.
我的时候，
But
就
when you
让
are
你死
too
的时候很
attached
痛
to the self form,
当我就是我的时候，让你就很贪婪，
you will become
我要爱，
full of
我
desire.
要
You want good clothes. You want to have love. You want to have good meals. After you practice for a period of time, when you discover the secret, you feel like, well, I am worth nothing. Actually, the true me is not formed by all this stuff. My true me is just using the shelves to present my survival. So I'm seeking this to help me. So in that state of mind, there's sadness, there's happiness. And when you go further, it transcends beyond sadness and happiness. And when you move further, you realize that your soul has been like going through many reincarnations. I can't say deeper than this. It is a very, very amazing feelings. You have no idea who is the one that interacts with you. And Master, because now is the Qingming festival, it's approaching, what are the things that we need to do? Actually, after hearing to the stories, I have a thought, is that spirits do exist, and it's something that we cannot ignore. And the spirits are actually more capable, more knowing than humans. So we want to have full respect to the spirit. So we need to be respectful towards our ancestors. We must be filial. Otherwise, we may be punished by our ancestors. Especially now that it's the Qingming festival, it's a time for us to pay respect. We want to show our kindness, our gratitude towards our ancestors. So you look at just now the stories of Qiwan Gong who came to protect the descendants, and that's beyond 7 generations. So first, the spirits can protect us, so our ancestors can protect us. But if we are not respectful, if we are not filial, it may bring us more tragedies or even misfortunes. So it is important that when the person is alive, we must try to do good deeds. We want to be a filial children and descendants. We want to be a good person. So when our ancestors are in a good space, then we can ensure that we and our descendants will be in a good space. Because our ancestors are like roots. And if the roots are healthy, then the descendants will be able to enjoy success in life. And it is also important to accumulate merits for our ancestors who have passed on. Actually, in the course of helping people, we see that many people have seek Master's help. And some of them are trying to find out if their ancestors pass on well. And we know that if the ancestors are good, we'll have a good future. So, how do we know if our ancestors are an average ordinary person? How do we know if our ancestors are growing, have departed and are in a good space? That's a good question.
如果我们一般的人呢，因为比如说命相也不懂。
So I think ordinary person, we may not have a lot of awareness in this respect.
但是呢，可以分析。
But we can analyze. For example, these generations or your past generations or your grandparents' generations. First, you want to know the karma of ancestors is that you want to see that are they good? Did they die normally? So we have to assess the family karma versus the merits. Look at the life states and conditions of the past 2 generations, the living and the deceased. So I say there are 2 categories. One, in their life, did they live well? Secondly, do they have good descendants? Or did the descendants bring them bad things? Or if the descendants are affected by negativities? And second, did they die poorly? Say they lied in the bedridden for 3 to 5 years. So, if they are not taken care of, what happens to the descendants? Actually, a lot of people, when they pass away, they have sickness. They have a lot of pain and suffering. These are considered good. There are some, they died because of accidents. Or something dropped from the sky and they were knocked on. Or some, they are suicidal. Be it taking poisonous liquid, or they hang themselves. Such deaths are not good death. So it's important to die well. When you have, if let's say the grandparents, that generation, they died well, it just means that the previous generation is very good. They are kind, they are more respectful, they are families that accumulate merits. When you have the father's generations, if everyone, they are all alive and they are all very auspicious, that's very good. And maybe to their generations, the third generations will also be good. So this is something that we can observe in our daily life. So question is, what if bad things have really happened and they are not good? What should we do? One, they didn't live well. They live a life full of sufferings and pain. So the other thing is that when they died poorly. Say, when they died, nobody takes care of them. They don't have filial children. And do they have excess wealth at home? No. So that's double bad. If the parents are like that, and if the parents like this, in the generations, if your parents didn't live well, what happens to the children? Or some live well, but they died poorly. We have seen a lot of coincidence, like the past president that was assassinated, and the descendant was also assassinated. The Kennedy family seems to have been cursed. Even like Bruce Lee. And look at the son. Bruce Lee's son also died young. But why is it that he died so young? He's a great, capable person. Why is it that misfortune happens to both him and his children? It seems like when there's something bad that happens to the ancestor, the bad things may continue to happen to the next generations. And even health is the same. So if, let's say, ancestors have heart attack, it is easy for the descendants to have heart-related disease. So this is actually very scary when you hear it. What can we do, Master, when there are already such signs, such negativities? It is not easy. But our Buddhas are very kind, very... The method I can think of, I also seek my masters. And my masters say that seeking Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, to clear the debts. We try to repay the debts so that it will reduce the pain and sufferings of those that are alive, so that we can be more auspicious. That is the only way. So how do we do that? What should we do? First is offering lights before Buddhas. So at our centers, we will help all during the Qingming festival. First is do light offerings. Secondly, write the name of the ancestors. Our teachers will help to pray for them. May the lights illuminate the ancestors so that they will be in a good space. They will be elevated to the Eastern Pure Land or in the heavens. They are free from suffering. You think about it. If your ancestors are in a good space, what happens to you? You'll be in a good space as well. But at an elementary level, first, we must know that the importance to pay respect towards our parents, to our ancestors. And during the Qingming festival, it's important to worship, especially the boys. Or if they have tablets, you must go there and worship during the Qingming festival. You have to do the worship. So Qingming festival is coming. There's something that we just want to highlight to our online friends. So if we have children that are not free and they are busy with studies, is it okay for the children not to go? No, this is not good, because we are trying to show our filial piety. If we don't bring our children, how do we teach them? If we don't bring children as a tradition, then what happens when you pass on? With modern technology, we become more blurred in our spirit world. I think if you don't bring your children there, I don't think you'll receive a paper money if you pass on for 10 years. Then that will be in a terrible space. And this is also, we're trying to pass on filial piety. So it's important to pass on the traditions. We then learn that it is important to pass on the traditions. Now with Western educations, A lot of time we are losing this traditional part of the relationships and connections. We lack the experience. What do we learn? We learn that the body belongs to me. Nobody can touch my body. That's what we learned. We focus too much on self. We become very self-centered. It doesn't matter which country you are. Every parents love their children. I feel that it's important that we bring our children to go and pay respect for our ancestors. You have to bring our children to go, so that our children will learn.
那这个去祭祖上坟哈，师傅是不是就是全家人一起去？
So does it mean that the whole family go is better? Yes.
别说谁有空谁去哈，那是不好的哈。
对，
你知道落单，如果你家里是有5、6口人，
If let's say there are 5, 6 persons in the family,
大家没病没灾的哈，
if everybody is fine,
你非得自己去，
you want to go by yourself,
希望你能正常回来。
I hope that you'll be able to go home safely. You want to go as a family.
结伴同行哈，
It's better to go in groups
对对对。
for stronger positive energy.
还有就是说，去上坟呐，还有去墓地啊。毕竟我们也知道说，这个地方它是比较有阴气的地方。
We know that
对
the
对
places
所以这个时候就
it's a little
是
bit more
去
yin,
这些
has
墓
more
地阴
yin
气比较重
energy.
的地方，我们还是要多多少少还是要准备一些。
What do we need to
就是
prepare?
在去年呢，咱们讲过，在洛杉矶的
Last year in LA, we talked about
他
it.
就是开车，他还俩人
The two of
到了
them
坟地上哈，
went
他到了
to
坟地那儿，他的
the
车呀
graves,
就好像被别人掌控一样。
and the car seems to be controlled
我
by
记得师
others,
傅说
and
他
they had
是
an
车
accident.
倒挡，不是
I
往前
remember
开
that
结果他倒
The
着开
car was
对
trying to
就
move
档位
forward
都
and it
乱了
moved
他自己
backwards.
啊都不能操控他的车，
不能对
The
对对
person
他
cannot
遇上什
control
么
the
呢？
car.
阴魂野鬼。
车中邪了。
对，不是，是有鬼在操作。
There is actually the ghost that's controlling the
所以
car.
在像孤独的情况下，你上到坟上去之后，容易出问题哈。
So when you go
所以如果
to the
家里有
grave by
家人的
yourself,
话，
it's not so
应该
good.
和家
So
人
if you have
哈
family
还有
members,
同族的人
go with the
去
same
坟上
family
去祭
members.
祀比较安全。
It's
人
safer
多
that
力量
way.
大，是人多
阳气
阳
重
气旺，
They are more young
阳气重
energy.
阳气重。
那你会说你是祭你的祖先还会中邪吗？
You may say
关键
that,
在这个
well,
这个
you are
清明
paying
这个期间
respect to your
哈
ancestors.
很多
Why
这
will
个
you
鬼魂是
encounter
出游
such
的
negative energy?
哎，不知道你撞上的不一定是
Well,
你祖
that
先
may
呐
not be your
说不定就是
ancestors,
流浪鬼。
because during this
对
period
造
there are a
福
lot
鬼
of
麻烦
lonely souls.
对，是。那师傅，那个家里如果有拜神拜佛的
So
话，
if
这
there
样
are
的话
Buddhas and
在祭
deities
祖之
pray
前
that worshipping
先
at
自己
home,
拜拜神佛再
should
去，
they
是
pray
不是
before they
这
leave
样
the
比较安
house?
全。
Yes, that would be
哎
safer.
对，这样安全。
请佛菩萨保佑啊。
对，
Seek
就是
the
我们
blessings
小
of
时候
Buddhas
说
and
像我
Bodhisattvas.
妈还至少有用纸贴那个佛像哈，就是平面的纸佛像，我们都要拜一拜。
When we're young,
你看，像我
we
们做一个
have
重要的事儿的时候，都在佛菩萨像前
everything
拜
that
一拜
important
去
things that we do, we have to prostrate before Buddhas, the image of
那去的
Buddhas
时
and
候我们也
Bodhisattvas
带着
first.
咱们的吉祥
So do we
法
need to
物
bring an
辟邪的
auspicious,
这一些
auspicious blessed
咱们呢
items to
咱
go?
们是修行机构哈，
We are
就
a
带着咱们这个
cultivations
吉祥的这些宝
organizations.
物
We just
无
want to
论是
bring
佛菩萨
along
像
a
什么大
blessed
悲天
items,
大护
be it
法的，还
Mahakala
有这些什么
deities
金刚杵啊
Tangka,
金刚诀
or
呀
even some
这个平时念佛的念珠啊，
even some
啊
chanting
手
beads,
串啊，
是。
还有沉香、檀香的
some
这些念珠呀
sandalwoods, or even agarwoods.
等等，就大家在慈悲心在道场里请到的，
You'll be able to
我们这些
invite
宝
this
物
in
哈
Sibeing. These are
都
all
是
blessed
能够避
items.
开这些邪
This will
气
help
的。
us to ward off this evil, this
如果
energy,
说到这
negative
个的话
energy.
其实有一大堆的事儿我要交代一下的。
Actually, there are a few things that I
大家
just want
出
to
门的
let
时
you
候
know.
啊，去上坟了哈，
When
最
you
好这些东西
go
都带上
to。the graves,
但是第一项东
you-
西，先是也同样是要沐浴更衣。
what is important is that you need to shower
那
first.
完了之后呢，
拜佛，
没错，
And after
出门
that,
之前一
before
定要
you
先
leave,
礼敬神佛，
you need
信
to
神的礼
pray
敬神，
to
信佛的
Buddhas
礼
or
佛。
deities
哎，
before
对，
you
再去
leave the house.
还有呢， 我看到，我想起来小时候哈。
I remember
一些
when I
老人
was
家
young,
啊，他带着小孩子们去
they bring
上
the
坟的过程
children
呢，
to the
平时抽
grave.
不了那么多烟，他从离开家门就点着烟。
哦，
我遇到那个时候是
The
那些
person
老
starts
头
to
拿那个烟袋锅嘛，
对，
一锅锅连着抽。
哦，
说
to
我
smoke
就
along
奇怪
the
我这
way.
打那么大烟瘾呢？
I just
平常
wonder
没那么大
why.
烟瘾呢，
Why is it
他
that
非得吸呀，
smoke
嘬那烟袋锅还冒着
all
火
the
星子。
way to the
对
graves?
对对，为啥有特
明
殊原因？
白啥了吗？
Do you know why?
火，
火能避邪。
It represents fire. It
鬼是阴
represents
的
yang.
哦，
鬼
The
别说鬼
ghost
了
is
野生动物都怕
or
火，
even the
大
wild
象那么大，你
animals
拿个火
afraid
把它也
of
害怕。
fire.
不能近身了
越。是野生大象，那么大，它啥都不怕，你拿个火把，它不敢过来。
So even
狮
if
子、老
in
虎
the
也一样。
elephants
所
or
以在
lions
大
or
祭坛
tiger
上
in
那
the
个狮
wild,
子
when
钻
you
那
have
个火
fire
圈
with you,
对它们
they
来
dare
说
not
痛苦
come
至极
close to you.
哎，所以要
生命危险。
带有火的。
So you need
但是你
something
不
with
可能
fire.
你说你祭祀的时候打个火把吧？
Well,
那
you
又做
cannot
出
say
来干嘛
that
了，对
you
不对？
light a
哎，
fire when
一直
you
点烟。
哦，
那时候还没到坟的时候，
when
为
you
什么点烟呢？
worship.
最起码要靠近坟地之前一段路的时候要点
Why do you want to
啊，那
light
个有
the
烟
incense
火
or candle?
烟火。这个
Because it
阴邪之
represents
气啊
lights.
它是偏湿气，阴的。
Because the yin
那
is
这样
more
湿气呢，
dampness.
就是怕火的，
So the dampness
火
is
能灭
afraid
它。
of fire.
他不敢随便上身。
So they will not
一
come
个
close
是
to
身
you.
上带着一些吉祥的法物宝物。那么第二个的话呢，
Next,
还
you
有呢
definitely need to
要
make sure that you
你的
have
族人一起
blessed
要有人
items.
点着烟之类的。
And you need someone in the group
现在不一定烟
to
袋锅也
burn
不好买哈
incense.
点根烟，平时不吸那天最好吸2口，有好处。
对
哎，
对，咱们有
Just for
的
that
师姐
day.
说，
You
哎
just
我
smoke for
去
that
的时候
day.
我就拿手里拿个香，一直走着。
There's someone that shares that they
因为他不抽
hold
烟
on
嘛。
to the
香也可以，
incense.
但是如果你点那香的时候，你一定要念佛哈。
The thing is that
如果
when
你
you
点那香
hold
啥都不
the
念，不知
incense,
引来是
you
什么。
must chant.
哦，你看多重要。
If you don't
对
chant,
这
you
有
don't know who
一
you're
定要懂得
attracting.
这个哈。
You must
点那
know
香如
this.
果不念佛，不知道
You
到来
light
什么东西，
incense, you
不
must
享受这个
chant
香火。
Buddha's chant.
哎，对，
Otherwise, you do not know what it attracts. You may even
哎
attract the spirits.
所以还是有那个明火的比较好。
是有这
So
个讲
it's
究的
better
哈
to have
还
lights.
有明火。
对，
哎，所以很多人，在我小时候，像我们家族那个上坟的话，哈，
So when
他
one
那
is
些
young,
那种大哥、叔叔之类的这些呢，他们会把坟上也修整坟嘛，填补哈。
they need to
哎
do
他把那
some
些干草啊
maintenance
干
of
的
the
草要
grave.
砍下来、割下来。
So they will
一
usually
边还得烧掉
remove the
哎
dried
烧掉，当然还
leaves
防火哈，不要
and
说
they will
把
burn
别
it.
人家那个引起火灾哈，要注意这个，说这些也要做。
burn the
其
dried
中点
leaves.
这个火也是其中每年要做的事儿。
So to
在
light
某些
fire
地方还
is
在旁边
something
在
that
安
they
全情况下
do
点一
all
点
the
篝火
time.
但是你离开的时候一定要把它熄好。
But when you
才可以
leave, you
哈
must make
但
sure
是我
that
们一般
you
不倡导，就怕万一
you
有火
out-
星没
you
熄灭，
actually
引起什么
get
山火
rid
就
of
麻
the
烦哈。
fire.
但是我们小时候是那么做的。
我们
We
在
did that when
坟
we were
前或
young.
者是那个墓地里的墓前，肯定是要烧纸嘛。
So we
烧
also
纸
need to
钱的
burn paper
对
money.
对，
对
它本来这就是点火嘛。
对。
So
对
that itself
纸钱
is
放在那儿
lighting fire.
你这个祖先收不到，要把它燃烧了。
So you need to
啊
burn
今天印的
burn
冥
the
币也
paper
好
fire
我们小时候呢，
so that your
是我妈
ancestors
他们
will be
还我
able
们
to
也帮着
receive
砸
it.
就是那个黄标纸，
是
砸出来一个铜钱印
When
儿。
we're young,
哎，那个
we
铜
have
钱
to
的，
even
还有
do
纸钱。
like
啊
some
那
joss
烧一
paper
大沓子
coin.
就看你们家的财务状况如何
So
了。
it depends how
啊
wealthy you
那
are.
钱多一点，多买点黄标纸，多
If you
弄
have
点
more,
纸钱，
then you
给你这个历代
burn
祖
more
先，还有
paper
很多往
money
生亲人啊。就过去很多妈妈不容易，生10个孩子最少死3个，是吧？有些就是很夭折了，
有这些
给这个他们有
In
有钱
ancient
花。
times, a lot of the babies cannot live,
哎，对
so
所以这个
they
呢
died young.
对。
So
在
you
这个
may
坟
want to
上哈
burn some
还有
paper
回
money for
家的
them.
时候
And also
上坟了
on the way
回来了。
back,
哦，对了，还有一个在坟上哈，
and also when you're at the
尽量
grave,
不要大小便。
try not to poop or
你提
urine.
前哈，就是别喝太多水。
Try not to drink so much
每天
water
去上坟的时候，无论男女哈，
and avoid
女的更
visiting the
麻烦
toilets there.
上最好找加油站什么地方上厕所哈，上正式的厕所一般没事儿哈，别到坟上上厕所。
Don't
很容
go
易
to
出
the
出
grave
事儿弄错
area
了哈
and go to the toilets
哎
there.
对，就别
It's
弄
not
这
so
个。
good, not so auspicious.
男生也是也讲究一点儿，那一天大家都来祭祀，那很多阴灵都出来了。
For
你在
guy,
谁家坟头那儿 大小便都可能会引发麻烦。
You want to control yourself. Do not avoid sleeping or using the restroom at the grave.
最好家里有人提前的先进门。
When returning from the ancestor worship, you try to fumigate with incense. Is recommended. So sometimes we do have. You want to use the incense. Or you want to just make sure that you burn it before you enter the house.
烧火煮饭嘛，烧的是那些柴火，麦秸呀，什么高粱杆啊，是这些烧的那个灰，会撒在门前还。
Or even the mud wood, you can burn that.
这个灰不是火烧出来的吗？就带有阳性的能量。
So even like the incense, the ash, it will help.
那个阴灵带回家来。
So you can put some.
哎，所以你这个要小心啊。所以咱们呢，有现在新的这个除邪的藏香粉。
We do have the new type of incense.
提着呢，家门前给它熏一熏，再进屋。
好，
这样子哈。完了，这个衣服也再熏一熏。
You can also make sure that you allow it to go over your shirts
避免有邪气上身。
to prevent any negative energy.
说那哪些人不适合去
Then
上坟祭
masters,
祖呢？
who should not worship
不
ancestors?
是人人都可以上坟。
Not everybody should go to
怀
worship.
孕的女人不能。
One is pregnant
不
women.
管怀孕几个月。
It doesn't matter how many months, you should avoid
第二
going.
个，小孩子3岁以内
Secondly,
的孩子最好
children
不要
under
上坟。
3 years old should preferably not go.
第三个，正
And
在
third,
得重病的人不要上坟。
someone who is seriously ill
啊，
or
比
recover
如说
from
也不知
major
道是不是癌
illness.
症哈，就是觉得风一吹就倒这种哈，就算重感冒也别去上
They
坟。
should avoid going
邪灵上来之后，
to worship
趁你虚的时候
ancestors.
不知道让你引发是什么样的问题，就不知道。
because you do not know what happens after that.
也都不能去
Or people who have
啊。那么还有呢，
flus should
就是
avoid
年岁比
going.
较大、身体比较弱的人
Or elderly people,
啊，
they are
上岁数
weaker,
那个腿脚都不好使，
they can't walk
尤其
properly.
是有些长辈哈，我就说你们抽空带我看看你大姨、二姨、
Especially some
三奶奶之类的
elderly
我
says
这
that
到处都转一圈
you
儿
bring me to see some of
转
the
一圈儿
elderly.
这不是个好讯息。
That is not a good
这样的
sign.
老人说话的，别带他去。
对，
And when old people say something like that, wanting to go look at some of the older folks, don't bring them.
别带去，一去就完，很容易完了，知道吗？所以这是我的经验哈。
That's my
所以这个
experience.
尽量不要去
Try to avoid bringing the older folks, the elderly there, those
师
of
傅
advanced
就是
age.
清明上坟，就是给祖先呀、往生的亲人的祭品，我们都可以
So,
有哪一
Master,
些
what offering should be
来
made?
准备
好，
啊？
比如说水果来说
For example, for
因为
fruits,
在过去古代一直到现在，
Because in the
很多地
past
方在
till
中
now
国的很多地方哈，还有人用一些什么牛头、羊头、猪
people
头之类的
use
哈。
the
我们
cow
说我们
head,
不杀生哈，
the pig
不要
head.
为了
We
祭
do
祀
not
祖宗而杀生，但是古代是这么做的。但
We
是
do
古代
not
也有一种另外
promote
特别的清爽
killings,
的做法，
but in
比如说
ancient
就正
time,
常食物
that's what they
或
do.
者水果，
The fruits
或者还有
or
纸
the
钱之
food
类的
or
哈。
even paper
对
money.
那贡品之中，食物来说，先说水果哈。
So let's talk
水
about the
果最
fruits.
重要的是不要用瓜类的，
What is important,
瓜
do
类
not
凡是叫瓜
use
的，中间都是空的。
对，
你想，
those that's empty in the heart.
香瓜、哈密瓜、
For
丝
example,
瓜、南
honeydew,
瓜、冬瓜、
watermelons,
中间是不是都
all
空
the
的
melons, we
不
avoid
能要，
we avoid
所以
the
这个不
melons.
能来作为贡品。
Melons
好吧
related type
说
cannot be used as
对
offerings.
苹果
Apple,
苹果
不空心儿，
对，
咱里头也有籽儿哈，但不叫
although
空
there are
心儿
seeds, but it's not
不一样
empty in the
还是饱
heart.
满的。
其实梨
So
子也
it's
可
okay.
以，也有地方供梨的啊。
And
但是这个
even
季节没有梨
pears, but
这个
this
季节如
is
果
not
买
the
梨，它是
season
去
for
年的梨
pears.
但是本身又是梨鳖，尽量不要用梨了就。
But try not
但是
to
它可以
use
成为
pear.
贡品。
But it can be used as offering, but
还有
let's try to
呢
avoid.
这个橘子，
Pears, you can also offer
还有
oranges.
呢，南方人种的这个柚子，
In the
它都不是
south,
空心
people
儿
have
的
pomelo.
扒一层厚皮，里头全是肉，是吧？
You can't
没有是
offer
果肉吧
pomelos as well.
哎也是可以的。
好，
而且柚子不怕放啊。再者呢，就是点心。
And next is
啊
like
点
snacks.
心，你知道啥叫点心吗？
糕点就
Do you
是
know what are
对，如果你
snacks?
是广东人就完了， 它的点心呢是早餐蒸了一会儿小包。
Well, if you are Cantonese, you see that there are a lot of breakfast snacks.
就是
对我们的那种
Or even like
我们说的
pastry.
点心呢是。通常都是经过油炸呀、发面啊等等的，一会儿小蛋糕啊，
Like cakes, even a piece of cakes.
什么那些炸的麻花啊，这一类东西叫
Or
糕
some
点。
fried
你
snacks.
像台湾什么饼，老婆饼啊，
对对对，
太阳饼、老婆饼。
In Taiwan, they also have a different type of
通常
snacks,
是
sweet
点心的
snacks,
里头都放
or
了
sweet
糖。
pastries.
对
So the thing
点心
about
类
the
的
pastry, usually
从
they
点心
have
呢，可能
sugar.
比馒头放的时间长一点。
You may be
是
able
这样
to
它
put
只要
longer
做熟
than
了做好
the
了
steam
是比较
burnt.
硬的啊。
对，
除了面包类的点心呢是比较软的哈，所以这些呢都是能多放一点时间的。
So you can put
就
for a
是
little
点
bit
心类的是
longer.
可以的。那还有饭菜类的。
对，
And also like
饭菜类
rice
的，我个人认
and
为呢，
vegetables.
通常包子、馒头，
I feel that you can use steam
什么大
buns
饼，
or mantou or big buns
像南方还有
or
青团。
even dumplings.
哎，你知道那个青团那个青用什么做的吗？
艾草吗？
那个绿色的，就是艾草粉，抹上去的。在里头呢，那个硬的那个皮儿呢，稍微软硬的那
So
个皮
in
儿
that
是
they
糯
may
米做
use the mudwood.
对，
在
the
南方
powder
就是中国的南方哈，到了江浙地区，再一直往南，到清明的时候，在贡品之中，
So in the offerings that they
几乎
gave,
都用糯米做的东西。
they use something that's with glutinous
奇
rice.
怪了，都是用这个东西，糯米做的。哎，这个很好玩哈。
That's very interesting, right? They use
还
green
有呢
dumplings.
有一些是因为你不是学佛，你是在祭祖。
Because you're not learning Buddha Dharma, you are actually offerings
你
to
的
your
往生的
ancestors.
长辈喜欢吃的某
So
种食
maybe you
物
want to
对
buy some favorite
是这样
fruit
吃的就
from
给
their
他嘛
lifetime.
啊。但是如果假设说你祖先喜欢吃烤全羊，我看
Say,
就算了。
for
是吧
example,
拿个蒸个
if
蒸
your
个馒头似的烤
ancestor
全羊就完了
love
就
to
别
eat
真的杀个羊
like
好吧，就是不要因为这个
barbecue
行为而杀生啊。好，那么但是呢，
lambs,
因
I
为
think you
这
can
个
should
是
avoid
祭
that.
祖
You
的一
just
个
buy
现
some
象。
dumplings,
比如
steamed
说你的长
dumplings
辈
for
就
them.
是喜欢喝点啤酒或者
Or
喝点
let's
白
say
酒，
they love to
想抽
drink
根
some
或者喝点
alcohol,
西洋酒。
some
通
beer.
常我建议呢，给他买瓶酒。
My
给他倒几盅
suggestion is buy
作
a
为一个
bottle
怀念
of
和恭
wine
敬来说的话，你的
and
长辈
offer to them.
喝两盅，你觉得也挺好的。
对，让他
对
高兴
对你来说，
嘛。
你让他欢喜，你心里
So
头
for you
好像也
is that
给
you let them
长
happy,
辈也聊
you
着
feel
会
good
儿
as
的
well.
也是
陪长辈
挺好
喝两杯
对，，是。
是，
对，这是酒。还有的呢，
For some,
还有的是长辈有过去吸烟的习
so
惯。
some ancestors may
我
have
觉得
sm-
嗨，人都
smoke
走了
before
吸就这么
when they were
一
alive.
年这么一两次嘛，是吧？
So
就
may
点
you
根
may
烟
even
在安
want
全
to
的情况下
offer
在那看着
tobacco.
一直让那个烟吸完了
是
就行了。
是
长辈有没有吸不知道，反正你的心意尽
So
到
you
了
lit
是
a
在安全的情
cigarette
况下
for them,
别把这个烟头给刮跑了，好吧？哎，
offer
这
to
个烟
them.
也可以，所以烟酒也可以哈。那么还有呢，很多地方能够买到鲜花的，
Some places you can buy
哎
flowers.
买一束花。
You
是吧
buy a
尤其是
bouquet
很
of
多是
flowers.
这个女性的长辈哈，
奶奶呀
母亲呐、
这样
奶奶呀，
A lot of
那个那样子的
time
哈
对
They love
还有
flowers,
曾祖母啊
especially for the
哎
female
甚至
ancestors.
是有的也有不知道祖上还有什么人哈，就是说供这个花朵类的
对，
也是可以的哈。再一个就是纸钱，
And also paper money.
现在哈烧纸钱可容易了，
Now it's
很多
easy
这个卖
to
相关的这个
burn
店
paper
呢
money
都印好的。
because
那
these
个
days
那个
they have
那个
already
币啊
printed
那个货币
with
那个数字可大
the paper money,
一说都是几千万，
还是
就
上亿。
一张纸就1000万，啊，
and the
啊这个
values
说
is
有的
huge.
说显得贵重，还有的人不知道怎么想的，说这是美国银行的哈。
Some even say it's Bank of America.
其实别忘了，那是阎王爷管
But
的
don't
世界啊
forget that
不是
is
美国哈
that the after
意思
that
这个
world
冥
is
币的
controlled
票面
by
比较
Lord Yama, so they
这
may
个多
not
买点可
use
以
the type of similar type of
那么
currencies here.
你们觉得烧些有的时候长辈就是托梦来说，就看他
衣服
冷
对
是吧？
对
这我们又烧点衣服。
烧衣服
So
这个衣
if
服
the
不是
ancestors
真正的
come
衣
and
服
says
哈
that they
不
need
是
to
真正
have
的
some
什么
clothes,
鸭
you
绒
can
服
burn
啊
some
羽绒
paper
服
clothes for them
棉
as well.
不一定，而是纸的，
是
纸做的。 但那边你烧过去，他收到的，那边写的棉袄，收到就是棉袄，就是这样。
对，现在都很方便，都有
Actually,
很
now
多
it's
五
very
行运
common
的
for them to burn
一年四季的
different
衣服
things,
房子
different
房子
even
啊
like house, even
对
cars,
也有人是
even
在那儿糊那个
appliances.
纸的车，
Some
那个
even
小
have
轿
the
车
cars.
就是在做世间的这个比较大牌子的名车烧过去。我觉得你觉得能
You
能
burn
够
to
解
them.
你的心中的一种
If you can
恭
help
敬思念
to
的话，
clear,
我觉得也
if you
也
help
可以的。
对，还有纸的 iPhone 手机。
or some even
需要的希望
burn
他有的
iPhone.
就给嘛。
也可以，
whatever
这个
that
没
they
有对
like,
错
just give
但
them.
是有总比没有好，
So it's
是吧？
better to
人家
have
都
than
用
not
上
have.
iPhone 了，你说你还在那儿是吧？愣眼巴巴的用心在发信息，就是显得是你们家祖宗太不时尚了哈。哎，说那你要
也要与
尽心的
时俱进。对，
对，说这些如果有该烧就烧。
So when you have
这
this,
只
if
是
you want to
说
burn to your
烧这些东
ancestors,
西
you
只是注
should.
意安全哈，
So
别
just to
引发
make sure
火灾
that
类
when
的
you
哈
are burning
对
the these paper
好，那
products,
下
you
一
want
个
to
问题
make
就是
sure
我
that
们在
you
北美嘛，
consider
现
the
在哈，北
safety.
美很多
But because
移民
now
啊
there are a
那
lot of
那这
we
个
are all
祖
in
坟
North
都是在
Americas. A lot of
老
us
家
are
啊，这真
immigrants,
的是相隔很
and
远。
we are quite
如果
far
如果不
from
那么
our
方便回
hometown.
去的话，
It's not
就移民
convenient
祭
for
祖
us
师
to
傅，你
return
看
home
怎么
to
做比
worship
较
our
合适啊？
ancestors. So what
通过
can we
禅
do?
堂，通过禅堂或者遥祭哈。
So
那
you
禅
can
堂
actually
呢，
have
我们
remote
北美各个禅
worshipping.
堂都会给大家做好这个相关的准备哈。
All our
禅堂帮你
centers
做
will
这个服
prepare
务
this.
啊，帮你呢就祭祀你的祖先。
Will help you
对。
to worship your ancestors.
所以这个你自己都，只是你表一份心意就可以了。我们各禅堂都会备下这些，祭祀的
All
所
the
有的东
centers
西
will have
你有那份
all
心
the
意
items.
禅堂帮你去做。
对，
And
这
if
些
you have
就
the
收到了。
intentions,
对，
the
因为
centers
在
will
不
help
同的
you
国
to
家，
do.
它那种各种的安全措施都不一样哈。
对，
我们常常会安排的特别好啊。
Our
对，就能
centers
解决这个
will
问题。
do it well
好的，太
如果
好了。
没有
and
禅
take
堂
the
没有道
necessary
场的人呢，
precautions.
通常
So
用
for
遥
people
祭。
without
那
the
遥祭的
centers,
话，你
you
就
can
是
do
说
that
一定要至
remotely.
少写上一个用硬纸盒上写上，比如说你叫什么名字，
You must
或
write
者是你
your
爷爷的
name
名字，
or
一定要
your
知道
grandpa
要
name.
对
是吧？
号。
You
比如
must
你爷爷
know.
叫张超，
For example,
是
your
吧？
grandpa is
说
called Zhang
祖
Cao.
先张超，
You
及
must
历
write
代祖先灵位，
ancestors, Zhang
要这样
Cao
写，
or
好吧？
past
比
few
如说叫马
generation
三六
ancestors.
就是说，马三六及历代祖先
Say, for
灵位
example, your name is Ma
这
San
样后头
Liu's
有个纸盒，
and your
纸盒就印加纸板
ancestors.
对，
啊，前面呢，用这个纸啊，
So in
黄
the
标纸
front,
写上这个
you
字
just use
啊，就是重汤黑墨笔写就可以哈。
the
哎，那先有这个牌儿在这儿
paper and then you write like a.
啊，你在烧的时候先烧这
tablets.
个牌儿，
So when you
就是来收这个供养，
Burnt
因为不在你们家坟前嘛，
对，
you
收
will
这个供
burn
养
this
的
first.
就不是流浪鬼，就是这个时候你们家的祖先
So
他
it
是
means
灵魂
that
状
your
态，
ancestors
你
in
只
the
要
spirit world,
说他收他就来收
when you
了，
say that they
他
receive,
没有
they
什
will
么
come to
坐
receive.
飞机的这个距离感。
There is
啊
no
他就能收
space.
到。最好要这样。
difference.
实在没有写，你得念念有词。
Even if you're not
要
right,
念你爷爷或
you
者你
must
祖爷
say
爷的
you
那
must
个
say
名号
the name
啊，他们才能收到。
so that they
别的
will
别的鬼
receive.
弄走了。啊，大概是这样哈。
感恩师傅提醒。
而你要烧这些纸钱呐、这些用品的时候哈，最好买那个画纸筒。画纸筒在某些这个店里是有卖的，看华人卖的哈，祭祀用品的那个店里有。
So you must make
它
sure
上面
that you
凿了
buy
很
a
多洞
metal
这个洞呢就是为了风
incinerator
和空气
bin
能进去，这样纸呢才在桶里能燃烧。
so that the
专用这个
paper
桶
can
上
be
面都有
burned
盖子
properly.
那你呢烧这些纸啊，一定要拿上火钳子或者长铁丝，还有那个防烫的手套。
对，
你随时
You
要带
must
着
make
这
sure
个盖，
that you
要不这个纸呢
bring
会
along
加上空气
some
它往上飘，
gloves
一点着它
because
很轻往上飘哈。
sometimes
你不要
after you
引发
burn
火
it,
灾
是，
it
所以最好
will.
一定要盖着盖
You
儿来
want to make
烧
sure that you have something that
啊
covers
那
up.
个桶啊，就一次，你别想说烧坏了明年怎么办？桶没多少钱，烧坏明年再买。
So
啊
if
要
it's
一次性
spoiled,
就可以了哈。
you can
对
use it
那要
once.
一个达到一个安全要
You
求。
must make sure that safety, take
就最好
necessary
写那
safety
个纸牌儿
precautions.
哈
对，
哎，那个叫灵位
写好啊，
啊，对，这样比较好
祖先，对
要不然你祖先收不到。
You must
收到
write
别
who
人给
you
弄走了
who are giving to.
嗯，
感恩师傅。
That's important. Otherwise,
那
other
也
people
是
will
非常
take
感恩师
that.
傅哈。
So thank you, Master, that during this Qingming festival, we have also have this lamp offerings for 12 days. And the price is very reasonable at $68. So we can offer this to all our ancestors. So for those that need help, we can also offer more lamps to accumulate merits for them, so that they receive the illuminations, so that all of us will also be auspicious as well. So I think it depends on the individual household. The number of lamps offered is depending on individual financial household. So we actually have it online already today, and we can start now, and the deadlines is on April the 5th, because Qingming Festival is on April the 4th this year. We want to do that before Qingming, before the Qingming Festival. The earlier we do, the better it is. Once again, we thank Master. All this, we will have all names of name offerings, and Masters will invite Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to bless the departed ancestors, sending them warmth, blessings, and auspiciousness. So thank you, Masters, to have these opportunities. Yes, a lot of time our disease, our problems is because our ancestors are not in a very good space. So these opportunities, we take these opportunities to help to do more for our ancestors, so that when the ancestors enter a better space, the descendant, which is us, will be better as well, because we will be able to have a better opportunities to cultivate. Actually, a lot of people who have learned meditation with Master, we know that a lot of the music, like bone melting, the MGI, the energy bakwa, and some trance, we need them. You can actually download into your phone. It's most convenient. Whether you have any signals, you'll be able to listen easily because you download them. Even when you are on the aircraft, you'll be able to practice as well. So now we have this audio downloads link, and everything is for free. And there are also some meditation methods, and there are some different categories. How do you download? If you are using iPhone, you can enter this website, or you can scan the QR code. If it's Android, there's another link. So when you enter this screen, you can enter. The downloads of the audio. Some of you have the apps, then you'll be able to click and you'll be able to open directly. And after that, you can click and pick which one you want to download. You may want to choose Energy Bakwa, and you can click that. And you find that within there are 4. Maybe you want to have the practice music. And you see this page. You click the download on the right-hand corner. When you click it, within a few seconds, you can press continue. You take under the few seconds, a window will pop up.
然后你就点
They'll
下
ask
载，
you to confirm if you want to download this music.
然后呢，你就退出那个浏览器，
And once
就
you
是那个
get
苹果手
that,
机我们往上一扒嘛，对吧？然后就回到
you
整个
exit
手
the
机的那些
browser
方块块 APP 的
and
那个页
navigate to
面
the
上，你去选择蓝
to
色
the
的这个
files
文件
files
的
apps in your
files
iPhone.
哈文件的这一个 APP 这个小图框啊，点进去。然后点进去呢，它里边还有个文件夹叫下载。
So in there, there's
你
also
再点这个
downloads.
下载，
You click
你
on
就
the
找到了
downloads,
刚才
you'll be
下载
able
进
to
来的
locate
八卦内
this.
功练习音乐了。然后这个时候呢，你再回到你要想听就点开听了啊。
So you can
这
click
个时
to
候我们不是
listen.
刚下载完一支吗？你再回到刚才
So
浏
what
览
you
器的
do
那一
is
排
that you
啊，
return back
又
to
到
the
了
search.
你可以再选其他的音
You
乐，
can
就一
click
支
on
一
other
支的下载
musics
下来
to
就可
download
以
as
了，
well.
特别方便，特别方
It's
便。
very convenient.
好，那再给大家介绍一下这个安卓手机的啊。
So next we talk to you
什么是
about
安卓
Android
手机啊？
phone.
不是像三星啊，像什么好，就不是苹果手机的，就统称为都是叫安卓吧。
So
它是
anything
不
that's
同
not
的操作
iPhone, we
系
call
统
it as
啊，
Android
以三星为代
system.
表的。也是哈，我们刚才那个链接啊，打进去
So
或
in
者
the
扫描
link,
进去
when
就
you
出
enter
现
it,
这个音乐下载这个界面了。
you'll be able to
然后
see
比
the
如说我
music
还是
download
选这个
screen.
第一个这个八卦的
You
啊，你
pick the
先一选
first
摁进
energy
去，
bagua and
它
you
就
click on it.
开始播放了，然后
It
它
will
上
start
面有一
playing,
个下载
and
键
the top
下
right
载的这
corner
个
there
标
is
志，
a
你就
down.
点它，
There's a
哎，然后
download
呢就出来一个对话
icon.
窗口说是否下载文件，你就
And when
选
then
下载。
there's a screen that pops up and asks if you
下
are
载完
going
了之
to
后呢，
download,
也是
you
退
click
出刚
yes,
才那个浏览器，
and then
然
you
后回
leave
到你的手
the
机的
search,
那个自带
and
的
then
那
you
一
enter
些
to
那些
the
小图标的那个页面上，也是找
icons
到这
with
个
multiple
黄色的
icons.
我的文件这个
You look
APP。
for the
点进
new
来之后
icons,
啊，你刚才刚下载上来的最先
and after
最
that you
最
look
最
at
最晚最新下载下来的就在上面了。你
the
也可以点选
the
中间
latest
的那
download
个
will appear
下
at
载
the
列表
top.
啊，然后点进去一看，哦，这些都已经有了，你就可以听了啊。这
And
个就
once
是
you
一
have
支
it
音乐
downloaded,
的
you'll
下
be
载
able to
然后
listen to
再
the
回到
music.
刚才浏览器，再一支一支下载下来，非常
So you
方
do
便
that one
每
by
个音乐
one
只
is
用几
actually
秒钟
very
的时
easy.
间啊，
It
都
just
下载
takes a
到我们的
few
手机上，我们
seconds
天
or
天
few minutes.
八卦天天走，
Once
活
we
到
have it in our
99
phone,
天
we'll be
天大
able
光明
to
啊，生活非
practice
常的吉祥，
diligently.
非常的健康，健康快乐就在我们的身边，这个
是
太感恩师傅了。这
关
个
键有多方便下载下来，很多年长者网友不知道啊。
没有问题，就实在不行啊，这样子啊，我们在那个师傅的 Facebook 哈已经
Actually,
发
in
布了
Facebook,
整个的这一个介绍
We
哈
have already
下载的介绍。
introduced
下
this
载的介
entire
绍链接在
how
哪里
to download
对对对。
就
in
学会
Facebook.
了
对
嗯，
真的没学会的话，找一个年轻人。
If you really
对
don't
于
know
他
how to
们来
do
说
that,
太
find
容
a
易了
youngsters
啊
to
他们
help
每
you.
天玩手机
Because
这个
those who
太
play
容
the
易
phone
了
every
啊
day
一下子就
to
下载下
download
来。
is
也
very
就是
easy
手机
task
这
for
个类
them.
型哈，就是两种。
So
一种
basically, there are
呢
two different
就是
type
苹果
of
的这个
phones
手机，
categories.
就是苹果手
One
机
is the iPhone.
其他叫安卓手
The
机
other
的
one
就
is
是
an
不是
Android
苹果
phone.
手机的都是安卓手机，它不管它表面上叫啥名字，都属于安卓手机这个
All
系
other
统。
phones as
这两种
non-iPhones
下
will be
载的方
considered
法呢
as
就
Android
在
phones.
一会儿哈已经贴出来了哈
已，经贴出
在
来了。
Facebook 上都贴出来了，
对
教你怎么下载。
对，
关键我刚才问的是下载下来之后用的时候多方便呢？
So my point is, how easy is it to use after
就
you
是关
download?
机也能用，
你就是说把这个表面那个屏都锁屏了是
锁
吧？
屏也能用，
So
对，
it's very easy to
但是如
use.
果你是用那个 YouTube 看的视频，那个视频只要一关，声音就没有了，对吧？
对，
这个呢一直在播
So
放。
this
对
one
比
can
如说你
continue
要
to
是用
play. It's not
的
like
话有个
YouTube.
电话一进来，或者有
So
短信
for
一进来
YouTube,
你
when you
看
have a
看
message that
短
comes
信
in,
或者一接
or
电话
if you-
你那个 YouTube
对
自己就停
The
了。
YouTube will
还有呢
stop.，
这个呢哈，
But for
就没
this,
有电话信号。如果在飞
even
机
if
上没
you
有电话
have,
信号
even
吧
if
对
you're on
能
the
不能听到？
aircraft,
可以，
there's no
因为你
signal,
不用电话
you
信号
can
它
still
就
listen
在
as
手
well.
机上
这个东西已经在你手机里头存在
Because
了
it is saved
不用一
into
个
your
信号
phone.
对，
明白了哈，就可以听了。
You can
哎
listen
是这么方便
anywhere.
那
So it's
所以
so
你任何时间在
convenient.
任何地方都能听。
对，
You can
那
listen
现
to
在
it
师
any
傅的
parts of the
Facebook
world.
上的哈，我们给的是 中文和英文的这一些洗练
So
的音乐
in
和
the
这个
Facebook
符
we
号啊
have
等等的
Chinese
啊
and English
那么韩文的、印尼文
for
的
the
还有罗马
Korean,
尼亚
for
文
the
的呢，这
Romanian
晚明
language,
天都在这个
and
不同
for
在
the
各自语言
Indonesian
的
language.
Facebook 上都可以发布的哈。
We will
太
start to
方
see
便了
that
全
in
球
the
化
Facebook.
几种语言很快就上来了。
So there are
啊
few
全球网友
languages
就都可以
available in
哈
different
方
languages.
便使用了。
对
Will be
太感恩
very
师傅了
convenient to
真的
use.
是好消息。
Thank you, Master.
大家能够习练哈。
I think if all of you can practice
身
to
心真的
cultivate,
受益，
you benefit.
是吧？为了这个让大家更受益，
I feel that in order for you to be more
因为技术和障碍问题哈，哎，给大家
convenience, because now we can't use the apps, APP. So we want to give this as a
有疗愈类
有
的。
疗愈类的。
So we actually categorize it differently. So they have meditation music, they have mantras, they have songs, they have healing music as well.
对，好，这就谢谢大家哈。
感恩师傅。
Thank you, Master.
那我们说一下下次的直播
So
时
let's
间。
talk about the next live
直播时间
broadcast.
是下周周六
It's
哈
going to
北
be
美
next
时间周
Saturday,
六3月30
Vancouver,
号晚上6点。
6 p.m.
那亚洲台北时
And
间
Taipei
就是周
time
日
will be
3月
Sunday,
31号，早上9点。
31st of March, 9 a.m.
好，祝大家健康长寿，
Wishing all health,
诸事吉
longevities,
祥
all things auspicious,
身心都安康。
and you have peace.
我们下次直播再见。
And we'll see you during the next live broadcast.
我与您相遇，小小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了。因为有了你，生命变得更坚定，不忧忧无虑。因为有了你，日子不再有哭泣，不再有恐惧。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与您相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。